Hello. Hello. Oh my gosh. Welcome back to the Wheel and Chill Show, a weekly Wheel of Time reaction stream where we react to the past episodes of the Wheel of Time. I am one of your hosts, Kritter XD. We also have Winespring Cafe in the chat and Tavern. So, welcome. Welcome, welcome.
Mike Frozen.
Hey, glad to be here.
You are frozen.
You are frozen.
You might want to. Oh no, you're back. I think you're back.
It keeps freezing every 2 seconds.
Well, you may want to drop out and redrop, you know what I mean, like drop out of the Discord and come back, and it'll look wonky for 1 second, but it'll be just fine.
I'm back. I want to drink my wine with you guys.
You're gonna be fine. Hello. See, now it's we've got Winespring in like 2 different places, which is super fun in my opinion. I think it's great.
Here I am.
So Winespring, have you cooked anything exciting lately?
Yeah. So on Saturday, I had the opportunity to hang out with Gathertown and display honey cakes and trollic balls, which I'm eating.
Ooh,
they're super delicious.
Okay.
So yeah.
I returned.
Hello, everyone. Jason Paget.
Welcome back.
M. Manshi, what's going on? Thank you for being in the chat. And everyone who's here, we appreciate you. I'm actually going to try something really quick because I've never done it before. I want to learn how to highlight. Nope, I can't do that. So, yeah, I don't know how to do that. Okay.
Take your time.
Oh, yeah, it's fine. So let's talk about what we're here to talk about, which is the episodes of the Wheel of Time. Episodes
You
1
watched
through...
the episodes?
Did I watch the episodes? Yeah, I sure did. So I think I could just come out of the gate here and give everyone a spoiler warning. We are going to come straight out and start talking about all 3 episodes because I think we're going to break them down by character instead of by episode because we don't want to have to start and stop on these people and their character development. So, because for me, The Wheel of Time is a character-driven story. First and foremost. So that's the plan. So if you haven't watched all 3, I apologize, but you should leave. We are also going to avoid book spoilers to the extent we can. But if we're going to have to get into them, which I don't anticipate, but we might, we are going to give you a warning. I'll throw up a little flag on the screen that you will be able to see, and then I'll drop it back down once we're done talking about book spoilers. So, ground rules laid.
Can we? Okay, so if something isn't in the books, we can say that it's not in the books.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I know what you're saying.
Just to clarify. Yes.
Yes, that is.
Gotcha.
That is a thing that we can do 100%. All right. Let's see here. I need to clear the chat up. It's being crazy. All right. Cool. So, I think we wanted to talk about the most controversial, arguably, the most controversial figure so far in the show, and that figure is Perrin. I actually just posted on TikTok about this, like a dissertation. And by that I mean a 3-minute video about all of the stuff with Perrin. So that's that is where we're at. Oh, you know what? I realize I was looking at the wrong chat. Things are sloppy today, but we're ironing things out.
No big deal.
So Perrin, Tavern. Initial thoughts? What's the spoiler level allowed? We are talking, sorry, Dresden Sedai, I just mentioned this, but let me mention it one more time. We are talking the first 3 episodes all at once. If you haven't seen the first 3 episodes, leave. Anything that happens in the first 3 episodes that happened in the book is fair game. We will be talking about, we will mention that some things did not happen in the book, but to me that feels like the antithesis of a spoiler. So that's fair game. And if we ever do bring up book spoilers that go past what we've seen in the show so far, I'm going to throw up a visual cue and we'll warn you in advance out loud. So that's where we're at. Thanks. I don't think you're that late, Roger Duran. Thanks for showing up. All right. So sorry, Tavern. Initial thoughts about Perrin.
One, I'm going to tell you right now, I think Perrin is probably my favorite so far. Barney's been great, or I should say Matt's been great. Nynaeva's been great, but Perrin, just the pain that he has been portraying with the fact that all the other fools keep mentioning his dead wife every 2 seconds. It's like you can see it, and I don't know. I have to go back and look. I don't know if it's CGI, because if it's not, it's insane acting. Every time they mention her, his eyes instantly water.
Oh,
instantly. So again, sometimes it's a little too quick, and I'm like, man, he's really, really good. But it's amazing.
Probably.
It's amazing. As far as the turmoil, I'm sure we're about to get into that. I'm gonna say anti dark friend theory because I think it's too simple.
Okay, well, we need to get into this then. Like the dark friend theory, we haven't addressed what the dark friend theory is. So let me pull.
I know that's why I said we're going to talk about it.
Let me pull up a photo. People are talking. So everyone's wondering, like, why give Perrin a wife if he's just gonna kill her immediately? Because spoiler alert, not really. In the books, Perrin does not start with a wife. They're all like 19 years old, and in that universe, in that turning of the wheel, that was still a little young, you know? So Perrin has a wife in this, which is different. Some people are mad. And the fact that he killed her off immediately feels a lot to some people like fridging. My argument to that is there are a lot of very strong women in this universe, and fridging, which is a trope where oftentimes a female character gets killed off to motivate her male counterpart. I don't think it's as problematic in this situation because there are so many strong females. Because when this trope is an extra problem is when there aren't that many women left in the story, right? So you've got a woman, you've got a man, there aren't many characters, and then the woman dies. That's when it's problematic because we have a lot of male representation in media and not as much female representation. So my argument here is it is fridging, but it's not that big of a deal because it's Wheel of Time. But in the alternative, that's all assuming that Layla's a good person, because if Layla's a dark friend, which there is some evidence for, then we don't care that she was killed. Actually, it seems like a good thing, right? So here's this picture. The moment it happens, right before it happens, Perrin turns around, and I'm going to pull it up, and then I'm going to show you. Okay. So there she is, right? There she is. Swinging. She's coming out swinging. The Trolloc by this point was dead. There weren't other Trollocs in the room, but somehow she was still swinging. Why? Why do we think that's true? Why do we think that's true, Chad? Do you think she was a dark friend? Dana Luhu is not down with the dark friend theory either. That's fine. That's fine. But Winespring, you haven't weighed in yet. What do you think?
Oh no, I don't know if she's a dark friend.
Okay,
I don't know.
Okay.
I have some doubts.
Okay.
Just like when Perrin is just about to turn around and murder his wife, you hear this ringing in his ears that I think is important to mention.
Sure.
That he kind of is in this like a battle rage maybe, or
Berserk
maybe
mode.
this is some type of instinct type of thing turning around to kill her. But I also think like she was in the heat of the moment trying to defend her husband maybe, and she was just swinging, and he happened to turn around right then.
So you think she was going for, like, just in case the Trolloc wasn't dead, she was trying to go for
He
the
didn't
final
know.
blow. Okay.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, heat of the moment. Fighting is intense.
agreeing with Winespring there, why can Perrin be the only one that goes into battle rage?
Yeah.
Why can't she be swinging? Like I said, I told you guys yesterday, I did a really like a quick in-depth. I was like drawing little figures on paper with landmarks and stuff, trying to figure out, okay, here's the fire pit, wall with the circle thing, here's the wall with the windows. The end of it, Trollocs are right at her feet, Perrin leaning over one of them. So she could have been swinging down on a Trolloc. They're right there.
Mhm.
Okay, so Melissa B here in the chat says, not sure about dark friend theory, but I think there's more to her backstory with Perrin, which I think leads into the question. There are some people who think that she either was pregnant or that maybe they had suffered a miscarriage, and that was part of the reason there was such a tension, like a palpable tension between the two of them.
Someone brought up another option that falls along that line.
Okay.
Maybe she couldn't have kids.
Okay.
Not the miscarriage and not, whatever, but maybe it was just that they couldn't have children and it was bothering her. Eve would know.
I mean, at 19 years old, yeah, I mean, I guess to me, it's like, how would they know that early? Maybe they would, but I don't know.
Multiple miscarriages?
Yeah, true. That
Maybe.
could be.
I mean, Nynaeve definitely sent her or him to her. So Nynaeve knows something.
Yeah, it's true. It's true. She was on the wrong side to
Did
hit the
notice-
Trolloc. Oh, go ahead.
So with Layla, there's a scene where her and Perrin are laying in the bed and he is still asleep. And she kind of gazes over at him and grabs his pinky. Did you guys notice that? Lots of pinky action. And
Oh.
that same thing happens again when she's about to die. Like she reaches over and grabs his pinky.
Oh.
Very
Okay.
symbolic
Yeah, I'm going to be honest with you. I
somehow.
did not catch that. Now I got to go back and look. Son of a biscuit.
That is
Yeah.
interesting. Okay, so there was something else also. So we've got this like, was there more going on? Was it related to maybe a baby, a lack of a baby? Also, it's interesting to note, and I'm gonna pop on the another image. It's interesting to me to note that Layla was fighting with a hammer, and Perrin
Hmm.
was fighting with an axe. So, so some might say that if this was an accident, and well, obviously like a sad accident, like she wasn't a dark
Yeah.
friend, that later on in the books, without getting into spoilers really, Perrin is kind of like, he goes back and forth between using an axe and using a hammer, and it feels like the hammer is the tool that you use when you need it, and the axe is more
Hmm.
of a like, it's a tool, but it's for destruction only. You know, one is more utilitarian
Mm-hmm.
and the other is just for killing. And so the decision to switch from the axe to the hammer at some point could be motivated, and at least it could be like a symbolic thing that he goes to the hammer, which is what Layla was using.
Yeah. We hear Matt talk about Layla's philosophy on creating,
Tools.
weapons, but
Yeah.
she calls them tools, and
Right.
so that definitely plays into that theory, I think.
I was thinking the same thing.
Hmm.
Agreed. It's definitely maybe because I mean, if you watch that fight scene, the first thing he went for, the axe,
Yep.
and the first thing she grabbed was the hammer. And so later on, it's that duality of do I act more like her or continue to be myself where I lost control.
Right. Right. I've got somebody in the
Oh.
chat here, which I
Oof.
totally think is interesting. John Satis, the Dark Friend theory matches Hopper eating her entrails in the wolf dream. You're not wrong. I mean, I think
Yeah.
that could be chalked up to someone is trying to mess with Perrin, and what better way to mess
Yeah.
with him than that imagery? But
Torment, yeah.
it could also be the other way. You know, we don't know. How would we know? Um,
Hmm.
so that is
100%.
that's basically where we're at with Perrin. I don't hate the changes. I think I think it helps expedite the battle he has throughout the book series between his
Yes.
animalistic side and his more human, more controlled side. That's from the beginning, but the only time we get it is in his internal dialogue, and we don't get internal dialogue in the show. So
We don't.
this is a good way to kind of like kick that into gear, in my opinion. Yeah.
I bring up Winespring's parent image that she requested in the dream.
Yeah, let's show it.
Yeah, let's talk about
The dream sequence.
I love it. Let me find it.
That's an amazing shot.
It is. I agree. So preface
Look under-
it.
it should be under Perrin.
No, I got you, fam. Winespring, lead into this while I'm looking for it. Here we go.
Yeah, okay, so we're pulling up the dream sequence when Perrin is walking towards Layla, or where he finds Layla being eaten by a wolf. And on the way through, we see this like bar going through his head. And I remember initially when we saw this, when it was released, it just kind of added to the weight that he's constantly carrying in his mind. And then Tavern, I think today actually pointed out, it looks like there's even a scale kind of knocking off the balance here. And maybe, Layla passing is a huge part of that we're going to see play out.
I think you're
he
totally
was-
right. That scale is so fascinating. Like I definitely,
I love it.
It happened so quickly that I definitely didn't notice it until you guys pointed it out. But
And look at his body, like leaning forward. I mean, he is carrying too much. He has too much going on.
he really does.
And I didn't catch it until, I mean, if Winespring hadn't asked for this shot to talk about her point, wouldn't have seen when Perrin hits the middle of that bar, he looks like the fulcrum in that scale, and only one side of the scale, even though that thing on the right isn't actually part of that bar, it just makes it look like he's out of balance.
It does. It 100% does. And again,
It's such a great shot.
we keep calling it the wolf dream, but really this is when some well, I guess we don't really know. Technically,
Yeah.
TV watchers don't really know what's going on, but clearly some crazy stuff is going on in these dreams. And it
Some
seems
torment's
like,
happening.
and it seems
Call
like
them
it's
the
not.
bad dreams.
Yeah, they're bad dreams.
Ugh.
They're not good.
The bat? No, not bad. Bat.
Both.
Because the first dream was a bat.
Yeah,
Call them the bat dreams.
the bat dreams. They're the bat dreams, and they're weird, trippy, but also incredibly symbolic. If you're looking at
Yes.
this right here.
Mm-hmm.
So all right, cool. That
Do
was
a
cool
poll?
image. I like that. Sorry.
I do too.
Do a poll to see who thinks what going on with Perrin and Layla.
Wait, did you say I have to do that inside of YouTube or
You can type /poll
where is the question?
in the chat. Chat for Twitch.
Gotcha. And for Twitch, got it.
/poll space, and
Slash.
it should work. If it doesn't work, then we won't even worry about it.
Open setup menu to create a poll. Holy. Okay. Looks like it maybe is working.
While you're doing that, I just want to mention that when I got to see this, all of this live with, the audience here in Dallas that got to watch it early, the Perrin scene where he turns and accidentally murders his wife got the biggest reaction from the audience.
Yeah.
I don't know, what you guys had with your viewing parties, but it was audible.
Everybody I've watched it with
mighty.
Yeah, everybody I've watched it with, none of which are book readers at all. Scene comes on, and there's an audible.
Oh yeah.
Everybody.
Ugh.
Without a doubt.
Heart wrenching.
So what do we want in this poll? I have it up.
Okay, so what do you think? I guess the thing between. So is it Dark Friend? Is it
Layla?
some kind of
Okay.
some kind of baby thing? I don't know. Battle Rage.
Dark Friend, Battle Rage. Thank you for the follow, Hybrid Havoc, by the way.
You guys, could it just be like basic jealousy too that's happening there
Nobody asked
between
that.
Egwene and Perrin and Layla? Like maybe there's some backstory with Perrin and Egwene because Layla didn't go to Egwene's women's circle ceremony, which seems a little weird for a small town.
I completely
Somebody
agree.
asked that in my TikTok today, and I was like,
Oh.
I don't. Yeah, it was like one of the first questions I got this morning. Is, do you think it's a jealousy thing? And I'll be honest, I don't think it is because clearly, I mean, it's established that Egwene and Rand were meant to be a couple, and Perrin.
I mean, small town. I mean, I'm not from a
That-
small town, but I can imagine that there's going to be some drama amongst the kids of the same age.
I don't think Perrin would do that. I mean, they're so close that I don't think that would be a thing. I would expect it maybe more from Matt a little bit, but not Perrin. And I could be completely wrong. And as far as not showing up to the women's circle and the party, it could have just been depression. See, that's where it gets tricky. It could have been depression from, again, baby issues. It could have been that she's a dark friend and she didn't show up because she was hanging out with, Trippy Murdraw boy and what's his face. You don't know. We don't
Yeah.
know. That's where it gets
What's his
tricky.
face?
She was catching up with
No,
Patty.
I don't want to
Oh.
say the name. I don't want to say
Oh,
the
yeah.
name.
Woo.
That's fair. Okay. Yeah, we don't want to spoil it.
I'm gonna call him Dip Doodle,
So there-
but
I
that's
do
my
have
name
a
for
little-
Rand.
I have a little bit of an argument against that a little bit. So there's a scene where Rand and Perrin and Matt are sitting around a bench, like a table, and they're talking about how Rand and Egwene have still not spoken. Perrin asks Rand, like, hey, how are things with Egwene? Rand just looks at him, and Perrin goes, like, he does this, like, nose thing, which is just like, cool, sorry I asked, moment. So that kind of also feeds into there being an Egwene-Perrin issue.
I think you're kind of onto
There.
something with the jealousy thing. I think it is moe sus that she did not go to the ceremony and then
Moe
did not.
sus.
Go
It really
moe
is. That's a
sus.
big deal.
Moe sus. She didn't go to the ceremony or the after party, so to speak, and that she was while the entire town was celebrating, she was at the forge. Granted, it could be some kind of like depression thing. Like it could be that 100%, but there could be jealousy. I think you might. I mean, and there does seem to be some kind of something between Perrin and Egwene in the especially I guess episode 3. They just kind of have this like
Oh my gosh, yes.
thing
The
going.
chemistry.
And in the books,
Yeah.
there's something very similar while they're in the same situation. Like to me, in the books, I was like, ooh, I kind of like Perrin and Egwene together. Like I don't hate this, you know what I mean? And so they're kind of, I feel like playing that up.
Mhm.
Perrin and anybody would be a good combination.
Mhm.
It's true. Okay, so we
It's
talked.
Daddy
For
Ibarra.
sure.
I mean, he is Daddy Ibarra. Like, what can I say?
Ibarra.
Okay, so
Heyo.
I don't want to stick on Perrin for the entire stream, even though I would probably love to. So we should move on to
Yeah.
Matt, I think, because Matt is the second most controversial figure in the first 3 episodes. I think you might all agree. And the reason he is so controversial is because his parents are different in the TV show than they are in the books. Abel Cawthon is a noble horse trader in the books, and he is not so noble in the show. And people take issue with the fact that Matt stole some stuff. Once again, I take no issue with this because I feel like Abel Cawthon is just Tam Althor sidekick. He's basically just always around when Tam's there. He like goes on an expedition with Tam. He's there when Tam's there. You know what I mean? He's basically just a second Tam, but not as cool. So I don't mind that they changed his backstory. And the Matt stealing thing, I actually saw something on Twitter that I really agreed with was like, everyone who thinks Matt stealing is a big problem clearly doesn't understand like economic issues, or like, you know, like the fact that some people who don't have as much money have to do morally questionable things in order to get by. And so both of those reasons, for those reasons, I'm like, this is fine. I think this is great. Matt's funny still, and he's lovable, and he's protective of, you know, the people he cares about. That's perfect Matt to me. What do you guys think?
I think his humor, the type of humor he has, is directly related to the backstory that they've given him. Like, he is quick-witted, sharp, and compassionate. And you get that from, you know, you get that from coming from a family like he's experiencing, and just that deep need to be a caregiver to his sisters really is an important part of him and his humor. I think it comes out a lot too there.
Yeah. Speaking of him and his sisters, let me just pull this up really quick. This is such a sweet thing. Like this image of him like leaning over them, protecting. Well, I guess this one is from the lantern ceremony, but still, everything he does with them is just. It's just so sweet, and I love it.
It endears us quickly to him,
It
like
does.
the big brother's savior. Like, how do you not love him immediately?
I totally agree. And also let me just like, oh my gosh, Barney Harris. I love him so much. I hope he is doing well, and that he does in his next endeavor just as well as he did in this, because I feel like he slayed it. I love him as Matt.
He's phenomenal.
I love him as Matt.
Thank you for giving us a good Matt.
I know. So yeah, that's our Matt. You know, we've got some Matt controversy, I guess. And let's see what the chat seems to think. He still is to provide for his little sisters with lanterns for Beltane. Thank you, Roger Duran. The things that he does are not selfish. They are motivated by his circumstances. And that's very Matt. Even if he wouldn't have like stolen. Somebody also on Twitter brought up that like every time he went and gambled for the money, like if he ran out of money and he went and gambled, like, I guess this gets a little bit into the books, but Matt has an uncanny amount of luck. Let's just put it that way. Slight spoilers for the books. Every time he goes and gambles knowing that he's probably going to win, that was basically stealing. And so yeah, that's not that far off from his character.
I love that.
We don't know why he left the show Sun Lover. I'm not sure we ever will, honestly. And so basically we can just really enjoy him in season 1, and then hopefully enjoy Donal Finn in season 2.
Yeah, Finn.
I always want to say Flynn because there's a Wheel of Time character who's Flynn. So I always get it messed up. So go ahead.
Before we move on from Matt, I was thinking about that moment when his mom is a little out of it and she just speaks nastiness like at him about the type of person he's going to be. And then we look at how Tom, I know it's kind of jumping ahead, but how Tom responds with like compassion and understanding and listens to him. And it just, that like, you just see someone like Matt, if he just could get around someone like Tom a little bit more, could really skyrocket into being just a wonderful person and a great leader. And he just needs to get away from people speaking toxic into his life.
I mean, on the Amazon Prime page, when they had the descriptions, the one that I think got everybody talking originally was where it says that he struggles with trying to figure out if he's a good person. So watching the show through the first 3 episodes, he's a good person. There is no doubt in anyone's
None.
mind he's a good person except for
Mm-hmm.
him. And that's because of what you're saying. His parents or his mom is constantly badgering, putting him down, all of this stuff. And the things that he has to do, right? The circumstances that he's put into, like his money gets stolen, so he's got to like, man, so what am I going to do now? Thing with Matt that will always do right thing for his friends. He will bend over backwards. He will get in harm's way, whatever for his friends, but he never makes the right decisions for himself.
Yeah,
And he
that's a good
tends to
observation.
he tends to screw that up. But if you notice in the show, he is the quickest. He has the quickest wit, the quickest insights. Notices immediately that there's a problem with Rand and Egwene when he comes and sits down. Figures that out. He's the first one to spot Perrin carrying Layla across, a battle-strewn village. He is,
And
his
he immediately
mind-
goes to offer comfort too.
his-
Immediately.
yes, exactly. His mind is so sharp, but then he does stupid shit like
Picking up a dagger, which is what I'm showing on
we're in
the
a
screen right now.
We're in a dead city. Nobody's in here but us. Oh, there's whistling. Oh, what's going? Oh, look, a shadow. Let me go follow that shit.
Yeah. Ooh, a sparkly dagger that's in the middle of nothing. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
so,
a curious, open-minded person. How can he not follow a shadow?
I wouldn't.
Am I blaming
You have
him?
to.
No.
You
I don't
have
think
to
so.
follow
okay,
it.
I think we got a screenshot of the shadow. Kind of. Let me
There
see.
is. It's a really crappy screenshot of the shadow.
It's a pretty crappy screenshot, but I think there's a shadow there somewhere.
It's there.
If you missed it, if you blinked during the sequence, there is a shadow of a human, and I thought, okay, hold on. Is that just a shadow, or is that somebody in there with them? So part of me thought, is that Pat and Fane, because we got a whistle in Eben's Field where Pat and Fane was, and then there's whistling,
Same whistle.
Shadow Logo
Yeah.
that woke Tam up, and so Matt, and so I'm just a little suspicious. I'm not sure.
Also, there's also the other character that I think we can talk about because I don't think they're going to mention it.
What's that?
Show. Griff.
Who?
Or what's the name of the guy at the shadow?
Oh, Mordeth,
In
right?
yeah,
Mordeth. I like if we're
whatever his name is. I can't remember his name. But you know what I'm talking about. I don't think they're going to mention him in the show because they would have said something.
yeah, I would
So
think
I think that whole bit was cut from the books.
Yeah, I
You know,
agree.
yes.
By the way, Daniel, who Matt has the best character moments with his friends. He is. Let me just pull up this hilarious picture that we have of him because I love it. While we talk about
Good ones.
some of his one-liners, can we just like gush for a moment? First of all, my favorite
Yeah.
line in the entire show was so quick, and like if you stop listening for 1 second, you missed it. But Rand is teasing Matt like, isn't she a little young for you? Isn't Moraine, more your speed or whatever? And Matt's like, I make exceptions. And then Rand, not talking about her anymore, said, like, maybe we can take turns. And Matt goes, if you think she's up for it. And I literally was like, first of all, no, I'm not gonna go that far. Yeah.
Hey.
and then Rand is like, the wood, Matt, and I'm like, right, the wood. Like this. Sorry, I need to move
Exactly
on.
the wood.
That was my
Yeah.
favorite. That was my favorite line. Also, like, that's not how roads work. Hilarious, perfect line.
That was great.
Yes.
So
This picture right here is from his one line when Matt's teasing or Rand is teasing him about the story of Matt who walked while a little chilly. And Matt's like, oh, we're funny now. That's a
Yeah.
new wrinkle. It's like,
It's gonna be new.
basically saying Rand is never funny. So
I seriously love him. I love
his
Matt.
lines are amazing.
So someone said there's whistling in episode 3 too. I didn't catch it. Oh, I feel like I did catch it. And now I can't think of it because I'm a noob.
That-
I don't remember, so I'm not gonna try and guess. But if somebody in the chat remembers, you should tell me so I know.
Yes, I would love to know too.
What was the question? I missed something.
That what do you mean? Oh, that there's whistling in episode 3. I just don't remember when.
Yeah. So there's whistling. Whistling in episode 3.
Oh, that's what we're trying to figure out.
Remember, I would have. Oh man.
Oh my gosh, you're right. Zero Daraju, thank you. That was another one I laughed out loud. The line when he said that was the most you've like spoken all day, maybe ever. After Land gives that big speech about Shatter Logoth. So good. Yeah.
We need a Matt like that.
I'm
Mhm.
I'm here for this Matt. He's so good.
Mhm.
Yeah, so good call on that one. All right, so do we have anything else with Matt before we move on? Because we gotta.
Last thing that I noticed, and I think I told you all about this, was the quick transition. There was the whistling. Then we see Pat and Fane riding in on his wagon. It cuts to actually no, I'm sorry. It starts with the fade riding in to the village at night. Then it goes to whistling, cuts to Pat and Fane in the wagon, and then it basically cuts from there to a little thing, and then it shoots Pat and Fane to Matt, which I thought was a transition masterpiece.
Yes.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Oh my gosh,
Connections that they're
Vixen,
doing.
Dark Fairy, thank you again with the Matt line. Seriously, Milady does shoot fireballs, so let's try to stay on her good side. I mean, literally every episode he's giving us life. I love this Matt so much. I'm dead.
Except episode 3, there is a very noticeable difference in his personality and what he says and how he's not encouraging his friends anymore.
So
It changes.
He's darker. He's darker in episode 3.
Definitely darker,
100%.
yes, and we know why.
Very much.
I want to answer something in the chat real quick. They're saying that Mordeth is Pat and Fane. Is later on. At first, they're two separate people, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
They're two. Well,
We'll
one's
see
an
what they
entity and
do.
one's a person. So that's why I was saying that at first he was not.
Yeah. Without getting further, thank you for the sub, Ryan. Without getting further, that's somebody's saying, what do you think the significance of the stone he took from that eel in the cage is? I honestly didn't really read anything into that other than that's what caught his eye in the first place. Also,
This is valuable. Yeah.
this is something, it's not a spoiler necessarily, but the Aiel are known for having not just money, but like interesting jewels, jewelry, things that they get while like looting or taking the fifth, which is like what they do after they defeat an enemy. They like take 1/5 of their possessions. So that Aiel could have that stone from any of those situations, or maybe they have stones like that in the waste. Like I didn't read too far into it. In that
We're getting a book spoiler. We're getting a book spoiler alert from Dana Lou.
Yeah, I know. Whenever you said the thing about Mordeth, I wanted to shout that out, but I feel like the Aiel backstory.
But the thing
correct
is
me if
this,
I'm wrong, it's not as much spoiler because it doesn't have anything to do with the plot.
I think they're going to have Mordeth in the show, though.
I think they. I mean, I think it. We'll see. Hey,
Watch
and find out.
Let's wait and see.
Watch and find out. Okay.
Yeah, we're done talking about that. All right, good.
So here we go. Sorry about that. If anybody did, we catch the stone? There was a stone. Oh yeah. Yes. That there was a dog on him. Like the little carving. I thought wolf, and I was like, ooh, a wolf. But now that you say that,
yeah.
Duh, that was probably a dog.
We're talking about Breen Springs. Did anybody catch the Four Kings?
I saw that in the behind the scenes thing. I didn't catch it in the episode.
So when they first get into town and they go to the tavern, outside of the tavern are 4 totems carved like 4 kings, and I think that was their homage to the 4 kings, which was the small town or whatever that they went through. But they just turned it into that tavern. So Dana was the tavern keep for the 4 kings, which was cool.
Dana.
I love Dana.
All right, so we gotta keep moving. There's so many characters, and we've been through 2 of them. Granted, these were the most controversial, so like presumably we'll be able to move a little faster on the next one. But I think we all love and want to talk about Nynaeve, right? Nynaeve, because this is different. This is different from this is different from the books in the way that Nynaeve, as far as we know, did not get into a Rambo-style 1v1 against a Trolloc in the books. No. However, that's what we got in the show.
Makes sense.
That's what we got in the show. And once again, I was like, yeah, no, this is what I want. Like, this is what I want out of Nynaeve, 100%. So I'm going to pull up an image, if I can find it on the drive, from that, because it's one of my favorite images. Here we go. One of my favorite images from the entire series so far is this iconic peeking out of the water while she's stalking a Trolloc in this sacred pool image. Oh my gosh, did anybody else like die for this?
Jean-Claude Van Nynaeve over here.
Jean-Claude Van Nynaeve, exactly. Like Sylvester stood Nynaeve. But it was inspiring, frankly. I was into it, like beyond into it. So
anybody else holding their breath through that whole thing?
Well, she was.
Yes, absolutely.
But yeah.
She disappeared, and I was sitting there watching the show, going, at my watch, going, "I'm about to die here. Come up now."
Such an interesting thing how such a main character was gone for that entire episode too. Like we didn't have her, which I guess is kind of how it was in the books, you know, like she was left behind and then she shows up in where did she show up?
Showed up in Bearlawn.
Right at the
thank you.
end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So real quick, I love how they did that because there are two things. One, she showed up in Bearlawn, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then two, after Shadar Lagoth, just like in the show, when they get split up, she tracks down Lan and Moraine. It does end up with them. So rather than catching up to them twice, cut out the first, and they just because they didn't go to Bearlawn anyways. But I thought it was very well done how she tracked them to the exact same spot that she needed to be after Shadar Lagoth. So that cutting of that
and
was
the whole,
amazing.
like, how did she track them? Because in the
haven't explained it,
books, in the books, she's raised by her father, which I think is okay to talk about.
Yeah, because
she was not raised by her father. She was raised by the wisdom and brought there as a baby. So what skill, like, where does she get these skills in this telling of the Wheel of Time?
Maybe
I want
the
to know that
wisdom.
very badly.
I don't know.
The wisdom, or maybe she was just raised by all the men in town, you know.
Or the women.
Yeah, or the women. I'm just saying. It's a village concept. So they were raised, you know, she could have just been raised or just ran around with all the kids as they were learning and whatnot. It's
by the collective.
It's open to interpretation. I thought about the same thing. I was like, where did she get this? Because we had an answer in the books. We don't have an answer here.
Yeah. So I know Winespring, whenever we were talking about this episode in advance, you said that there's an interesting amount of the exchanging of daggers, right? There's some dagger action that goes on. And I don't think we brought this up whenever we talked, but I noticed in my most recent look at this episode that she takes that Trollocs sword thing, and I think that's the sword she uses on Lan, or she tries to use, which is so interesting. She kept it with her, like basically like a battle trophy, and I thought that was very naive. She's like, "Yeah, this is mine now, thanks."
This is mine now.
Yeah, thanks.
You have to think about though. She tracked them down. They were going for a while. She tracked them all the way
horses.
down.
Yeah,
horses and through Trolloc lines.
Yeah,
because the Trollocs had been chasing them. She had to get
and White Cloaks.
All of that and White Cloaks. Yeah. So that's insane stuff.
she's
Let me pull I'm gonna pull a Kritter.
I mean, just a lot of there's a lot of stuff that I like from this. Let's just say, she's a dual-classed wisdom / ranger. DK Moon, I love that. That's perfect.
She's killing
That's
it.
right. Still, my favorite scene though with Nynaeve is the one in the sacred pool when she's cleaning it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, when she's displaying that servant leadership, I think that is one of the most important aspects of her character, is her ability to recognize, you know, the importance in leading that way. And I know I mentioned this when we spoke earlier too about like the women's circle, that scene where they're fighting and they have ganged up on this Trolloc and they win. And I can't help but think about how women like that are not going to follow a weak-willed woman. They want someone like Nynaeve who is willing to, you know, get into the nitty-gritty in the type of leadership that she's going to give to them.
I totally agree. I pulled up the image from the pool just so we could like talk about that a little bit, and just the imagery here of Moraine coming in and like coming upon Nynaeve, questioning her, essentially trying to assert her dominance while being faux polite was fascinating, and how Nynaeve just responded in kind. It was such a cool interaction to see, and it reflected a lot of their dynamic in the book really well, I think.
Yeah, there's definitely two powerful women coming together to have a moment.
Without a doubt.
When Winespring said, I'm glad that they got rid of the conflict between the women's circle and Nynaeve from the books.
Yeah.
Because it showed a unity. It showed that she was they respected her in the show. I think it's so much better. I mean, granted, the book had its purposes, but I like that they didn't have that in there because they needed to show her as a force from the get-go.
Right.
I think Moraine just barely mentions it. Yeah, she's like, I know you think you're too young, or people think you're too young, but you're not.
Right.
And that's all we needed to hear.
Yep. She that's some good stuff. And I guess we haven't really mentioned much of her in the third episode, but it was to no one's surprise that her and Lan were going to have this like electric dynamic while Moraine
Yes.
was passed out, and
Yeah.
and it was also to no one's surprise that she ended up helping Moraine, because at heart
Mhm.
she is a healer, and even though she's a
Mhm.
ranger as well, I think really her fundamental
Ranger.
person is a caregiver, and she wasn't just gonna let
Mhm.
Moraine die. So I think that was a perfect. I feel like they did her so well, her whole character. They just in these first 3 episodes were like, this is Nynaeve, and everyone who read the books was like, you're right. That is exactly
It is.
Nynaeve, even if it happened in a
is.
different way. So
The one character that I don't think anyone has complained about.
oh
Honestly.
yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I haven't. They know better, I guess.
Okay, so let's see. We Krager, welcome in. Like, you don't feel bad. We're happy you're here, even if you're a little late. So I think that's
Here.
it for more Nynaeve, because we gotta, unless anybody has anything more. Basically, I'm just really
If there's
excited
anything in chat.
to see Zoe and Daniel have more enemies to lovers, because that's where they're obviously going. They've got this sexual tension that's palpable, and I want to see more of it. Right.
I mean,
Mhm.
we'll have her come back up a little bit when we talk about Lan, anyways.
True. All right, so let's do this then. Rand and Egwene, and we talked about talking about them separately, but I think we at least need to start talking about them together, because a huge part
Mhm.
of Scott, we're actually just now about to talk about Rand. A huge part of the first 3 episodes was the dynamic between Rand and Egwene, and I am such now a Randween, an egg Rand, whatever shipper.
Right.
Like, it's insane. Even though, who knows how they're gonna end up. I want them to be together forever, because I love this. I love it.
You do.
I am
do.
so
I
I'm
know, I'm
so
a
not
sucker.
seeing this.
I'm a sucker for the cute, like, high school. Like, okay, so I mean, this is a little bit of personal information, but like, my husband and I were high school sweethearts. So like, it's like, yeah. So it's like this sweet little dynamic that I love. And so,
Yeah.
they're not in high school anymore, as I'm gonna show you all with this image. But and I think the show wanted us to know that they are not in high school anymore. But we've got a bit of a feeling. Like, that's kind of the feeling.
I saw
Yeah.
a post today. It was like one of the crap posts that people have been dogging the show, and their main complaint was that there was too much sex in the show. And I was like, I said, there was sex in the show? What are you talking about? So yeah, that was one of the reviews I came across today.
Okay. Well,
Interesting.
I'm into it. And then not just because I'm like, I like seeing sex
She's
in
into
shows.
it.
Like, I'm not. I think it's great, because I think it steers us slightly away from the YA category, which
Yes,
was the intent.
please.
Oh yeah.
And I also
absolutely.
think
I'm fine with it.
it's just, it feels, this show is more modern than, or it's like trying to be more modern than your typical medieval
Thank
fantasy.
goodness.
I mean, and thank goodness,
Mhm.
it shows in the clothes, and I think
Mhm.
it shows in the fact that we're allowing for more complicated, relationships than just the high school innocent sweethearts we've never actually kissed, and and the fact that they like allude to there being gay relationships, and that they're totally fine. How Dana or whatever was like, you guys can make as much noise as you want, and Rand was like, well, I don't like Matt or men, but if I did, I could do better. It wasn't like a, I'm not gay. It was like a, if I was gay, like, not a problem.
Yeah.
I can do better than him.
Exactly. So I think this show generally is doing something that not all shows do, and it's just like taking a more casual and yet more enlightened look at relationships and sex. So I'm fine with it, personally.
Yeah, for sure. More.
I am
More.
I'm going to be the voice of reason for this Egg Rand or Ranween or whatever.
It's not conducive to a good ship name, I'm going to admit. But you mean not the
Listen.
name, but just the relationship in general?
Yeah, not the relationship in general. Here's a guy, all but has devoted his life to this woman. What does she do? Oh, I could be a wisdom. See ya. And as soon as she can't be a wisdom, oh, I could learn to be an Aes Sedai. See ya.
I don't know.
It's
dedicated
everything
his
she
life.
does is for herself.
Well, technically, if she was a
Wow,
wisdom,
how
if
dare
she,
her.
if she was a wisdom, it would be for the village, right? She's giving up the ability to be with people and to have children in order to help people. So I don't know if
Yeah,
that's
but
selfish.
oh, hold on.
I mean,
And I'm
sure.
not saying okay. And I see Winespring looking at me like she's about to me up for dinner. But here's the thing.
Go
right?
on.
We do know that this is the beginning of her quest for power because it's part of her arc and it's part of her character. I'm not saying there's anything
Let's
wrong
ease
with
up.
her
Let's
doing
make
that.
sure that we don't spoil
Nothing
anything.
wrong with it.
But
what
yes.
I'm
Yeah.
saying is, as far as a relationship goes, she pretty much threw that right out the window the moment she learned that she could be something else other than just Rand's partner.
To be fair,
What I'm saying.
let me come back a little bit and say that she didn't immediately say yes. She eventually said yes.
Her heart, she already knew she was going to say
I
yes.
think
You
He
guys,
knew it,
when
she
I
knew
watch
it.
them communicate, she never gets to say anything to him. Every time she tries to communicate with him, he interrupts her. So I don't know that
he's
there's a lot
selfish
of
as
good
hell, too.
communication there.
Yeah.
You're right. You're spot on that as well.
It's-
But I'm just saying she sees a light at the end of the tunnel and or like a shadow at the end of a alley and she's going to go for it is what I'm getting at.
I think this conversation up on that hill, which I don't think we have an image of, but you guys all know what I'm talking about, was the equivalent of a girl who gets into Harvard telling her high school sweetheart that she's going to Harvard without him. And I'm
Yes.
fine with it, and then
Yes.
if Harvard falls through later, she's like, well, shit, I guess I'm not going to Harvard. Like, what else? Maybe this will work out after all. So I think we have different takes on the situation.
No, I agree with
still
you.
think they're
I
really
agree with
cute,
you.
even though she made
Just saying the
ultimate
relationship part of it, not her aspirations. Her aspirations were amazing, and yeah, more power to her. I'm just saying it not conducive to the relationship that you're talking about.
I mean-
They're sweethearts. No, she's gonna leave him every time something cool comes up because that's just her nature.
if she has to.
Well, you can't leave someone you're not with, right? Because they're not actually with
with.
each other.
I mean, they were
Were
together.
they with each other?
They were sleeping together.
Or they were just enjoying each other. Like, I think that's part of normalizing life,
Could be.
True. I
and
mean, I think
intimacy. They might
at
not
some
be
point-
together.
at some point they were promised to each other by other people, so it was the
Other
expectation.
people.
Right. So
Oh.
it was the expectation.
I think you're right in the sense that they're probably doomed to fail for reasons.
Press for Egwene here.
But I love them together because I mean, in almost every situation, there's going to be hard decisions that get made that hurt people's feelings, right? And so, like, I think her calling was a noble one, and then it
a good
fell
one.
through the floor, and so then she had to reassess. And so Rand being upset, 100% totally allowed. Rand was incredibly
Yes.
broody throughout these 3 episodes, and I think some people, Rand needs to be more supportive. Tavis said, "You're not wrong. I totally agree." And I also
Hold
agree
on,
that they were an
Krager-
actual couple.
Krager had a good one. He said he doesn't think she wants power. Or Krager, I don't know, doesn't think that she wants power. I think she wants purpose.
I think he's right, and I
Which is
love
a
that.
Great
Great.
words. Great
Those are
words.
amazing words. So,
Krager,
yes.
you get our girl
Win.
Egwene. Like, we all know that I love Egwene. Like, she's my favorite character, so I'm gonna defend.
And on
her.
Rand, can I move into Rand
Yeah,
just for
we're
a
talking
second
Egwene and
with
Rand.
this? Okay, so he has every right to be like brooding and upset. Like,
Absolutely.
she's in total control of their relationship. And then you have Moraine and Land coming in saying, now we're heading out and they're in control. The guy has zero control over his life. None. Like, he has every right to be upset the whole time, I think.
I agree.
I agreed. No, yeah, he's brooding. He just got his heart broken.
Mm-hmm.
So he's in defensive mode. I mean, any guy that's ever had their heart broken, or any person that's ever had their heart broken,
Yeah.
it's that you go into defensive mode, and yeah, you're not going to look at that person the same way.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
the only thing that gets me about Rand, and this is, I mean, it might be his accent a little bit, because I love is it Yosha? Is that
Yosha,
right?
yeah.
Yosha?
I love Yosha. I love him as Rand. His accent throws me off a little bit. There are a couple occasions where I don't think his acting is on par with some of the other actors. He's still good, but he gives me a little Hayden Christensen vibe from the prequels for Star
I
Wars.
don't know. I thought he was really good.
Not as
at
bad.
communicating.
No, it's not as bad as that. But I'm just saying, maybe it's because he's not as good at the character as, like, let's say, Barney or Zoe. I think out of the 5, he's probably in the lower tier, which is still high. I'm just saying it's not on par with a couple of the other people.
I thought
Might be showing.
I really liked all of them, and with Yosha specifically, I feel like he had the nonverbal communication down. Like you could really
That he does.
You could really see what he
His
was
eyes.
thinking.
Yes.
Yeah, in like every situation. And so I didn't use this earlier, even though I should have, because it's
We
the
got a
one.
picture?
Just like him, like he's not saying anything at the moment. He's just got so many facial expressions. This is him with Matt for no reason in particular,
yeah.
other than I love the scene. But I just feel like he, even if he doesn't talk that much, he's still really. He played his part like he was supposed to. So I'm never exactly.
No, he's doing a great job. I'm just saying. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm just saying he's a little less than maybe Barney or whatever.
Rand for Batman. He has brooding at 9,000.
9,000.
Yep,
yes.
you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
You pointed out his facial expressions, Kritter.
Mm-hmm.
Back and watch the scene in which they're asking Dana for a room. Right? They go in there to the kitchens to ask for a room. Watch his face as she's making the food.
Oh, I know.
He's literally grabbing tankards of beer, sniffing them, and then pouring them into the soup. He's just like, you can see his throat moving, his cheeks are like.
He's so expressive. Exactly.
So good. So good.
Yes.
So speaking of episode 3 with Rand, since we're on Rand right here, I'm gonna pull up a little image that I don't know if I don't know if non-book readers are clocked this, but because it was in the show, we're going to talk about it. Let's all remember that Dana said that this door that Rand was trying to beat down, 3 men couldn't take it down, and I can't remember if she said it was an iron door or a steel door.
No, she said it was iron.
Okay, an iron door, and this happens. So I think we should all just put a little pin in that and see what happens. I guess going forward.
I got a second pin for that I just thought about.
Bring it on.
Another pin in him breaking a wooden things.
You like stalled out there for a
cut
second.
out.
I said put another pin in him and keep this image in your mind of him breaking out of wooden things.
Oh, okay. I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Then let's not go any further.
I'm not. I'm trying to keep it as vague as possible.
Sure.
I totally believe you.
That was great ironwood. Yeah, ironwood. I mean, it
was ironwood,
I'm sure
right.
they crafted that in some way. All right. So
It's just a hard wood. It's an actual tree.
right. Okay. So we talked about Rand and his odd moment with the door, and but Manchi, I'm not gonna say that out. I'm not gonna say your comment out loud, but I think you're onto something on Twitch.
Okay.
And all right, so just because it's like just a little spoilery, we're trying to avoid book spoilers, but that's a good guess. I think it's a solid guess. All right, so
Yep.
Egwene, we had more to Egwene than just Rand, thankfully, which I love about the Wheel of Time. Something we got with her was her little interactions with Moraine. And the discovery that she, the wind listens to her. So that was a scenario that I liked and was taken very closely from the books. And I was happy to see it.
Yes.
Moraine's little mentorship of Egwene. I don't know if it's because Moraine thought, maybe she was like dialing on Egwene as the dragon. And she's like, here, let's get her to channel or what. But I thought this was a really sweet, kind of cool scene where you could see Egwene get really excited about the fact that there was maybe more in store for her. What do you guys think?
I think Moraine has lived a long life and had a lot of experiences with people. And she can probably read Egwene and can tell that she's hungry to learn. And so it is not hard to just teach someone that wants to learn like that.
It's true.
There's also another a tell with Egwene, whole listening to the wind thing. Actually does it before he meets up with
Nynaeve on the bridge?
Yes. When they're in the Winespring Inn, right after that whole scene we just saw with, Kritter's dripping scene, or whatever you want to call the thirst trap of Egwene and Rand.
Okay.
Right after that, she's sitting there by herself, hear the wind, and she looks towards the door. They cut to the Fade coming across the village, coming into the village. Later on, when they're sleeping in the ruins, you hear the wind. She jumps up. The Fade is staring at them from the top of that rock. So to tell with Egwene that the wind sound happens whenever she realizes something, or she's using her listening to the wind ability, you know, Wonder Twin powers, whatever you want to call it. It clearly, I mean, it works. It's just just like the whistling and other sounds that they've incorporated into the show. That's her thing. You'll hear the wind. She hears the wind before something happens, which I thought was amazing.
It's the audible signal for Egwene's spidey senses going off, basically.
Yeah,
like,
pretty
that's
much.
what's happening. Like her spidey senses are going off, and then there's a Fade. Wow.
Yeah, and the same thing happens when Moraine comes to wake her up. She just runs her hands over, doesn't touch her, but Egwene wakes up. Like she can sense things very deeply and respond.
That is true.
Let's see. There's a lot of typing going on in YouTube.
I know. Somebody said that that's like military tactics, like military recruiter tactics. When she said the first two were mine, I'm not.
Oh yeah.
I'm not familiar with that.
Yeah, that's a whole. No, I was helping you at first, but that last pull up was all you. Yeah, that's oh yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah, that's yeah.
Love that. Nice. All right, so that was cool. We got Rand with the door. We've got Egwene with the stone. Interesting, watch and find out. So I guess we could start talking about Lan and Moraine, huh? Like that dynamic was a good dynamic. I think those two had such great chemistry, non-sexual, even though some non-readers might have assumed it was sexual in a couple
innuendos,
of certain scenes, including the iconic bath scene. Here we go. Just in case you forgot, here we go. And
what happened in the bath?
I don't remember.
Oh, okay. So what happened was, she's in the bathtub. Here comes Lan's butt. He gets in the bathtub. Then she said something, and he goes, "It could be warmer," but he gives her this like flirty kind of look where it could be misconstrued as flirty. We know it's not, but he kind of gives her this little smile. It could be warmer, and she goes, "I'm surprised they even have this." He's like, "Could be warmer," and it's anybody who doesn't know the books.
You're like, oh,
probably. Yeah, it's
about to get warm.
Yeah.
And then she pulls the greatest magic trick in the world, according to Egwene's friends.
Some people at my watch party, because this is the first time Moraine channels, some people at my watch party who didn't read the books were like, wow, she's really powerful when she like warmed the bathtub. Also, there's some controversy going on in the chat that I need to clear up. Rand, and this is about the like, do you think she'd be up for it thing. Rand says we can take turns about chopping the wood. He is not talking about the innkeeper. And Matt, being the quick-witted scamp that he is, makes it about the innkeeper because he's the jokester of the situation. So like, if you were like, that's out of Rand's character, it's not, because he was talking about chopping wood. So I just wanted to say that because it's like that was never Rand. So
no, it was all Matt. Yes,
it was all Matt. Matt was the one being a stinker, as my mom would say. Oh, whoops. Hello. No, we're good. Keep going.
Oh, good. Okay, so on channeling, you mentioned how the first time we see Moraine channels in the water to warm it up, to help her warder be more comfortable, showing love to her warder this way, which I love. But if we think about how episode 1 opens with Leandron, she also channels and she pulls, the rocks down, but we actually don't see any weaves.
Yeah.
They withhold that. So we see, some violence against a male and with some weaves. And, I don't know, maybe not violence, some stilling, I'll say, some stilling of a male. But we don't see the weaves. And then when the first time we see weaves, we see a woman showing care, which I really appreciate.
You actually do see the weaves, because you can. There's a distinction between the weaves and the steam coming out of the water. So you definitely see weaves when she's warming up the water, which is cool.
There, but not with Leandron.
Exactly. They don't even show anything. You don't even see her hand.
They zoom in on her. Yeah.
You don't even see her hand. You just see her doing an action, and then stuff happens.
So Lana Moraine generally, like, we were talking about their chemistry, and like I guess they've been talking about it in interviews. If you're paying attention to like Rosamund and Daniel Henney doing interviews, and then we got to see it, and it was this beautiful dance. Like the Winter Night / Beltane fight was gorgeous, and even though the weaves weren't colored, and I know some people take issue with that, I think it was still really very stunning. Personally, and not only because the weaves were cool, but because Daniel Henney basically just like dancing around Moraine, laying waste to these Trollocs to basically just guard her back while she's like the ranged fighter, and he's the close quarters, the melee guy. I loved that. I thought it was fabulous.
Such natural chemistry between the two of them.
100%. The behind the scenes video they were talking about it and basically said that Moraine or Rosamund and Daniel discussed battles, and they basically, asked questions, but they worked it out themselves, where he would yell duck or whatever. So there's actually one shot that I wish I would have screenshotted, where there's a Trolloc coming up behind Moraine as she's channeling, and he's coming forward. It's actually, there it is right there.
Yeah.
She literally just drops as he's swinging.
Mm-hmm.
And
Amazing.
then the next shot that you saw with the rocks, that's when she came back up. But yeah, it's insane. The ballet performance that happened between those two, and it really was a performance. It was incredible.
Yeah, it was love them together, fabulous chemistry. I think Lan is more complicated in the show so far than he was in the books. Lan was basically a statue in the books for a long time. I mean, he eventually became a mentor to the boys, which I hope we get to see, but in this, I feel like we get like a little more from him maybe earlier on, and maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I'm sensing.
The little things, like when you see him disheveled, like his hair is out, is so off character from the books, because in the books he was a stone, he was a freaking rock. To see him a little exasperated when Moraine is hurt, a little disheveled, like up. We're gonna get to this next because we're talking about Lan. See him discombobulated because he doesn't understand how Nynaeve tracked them down.
Oh yes, I love seeing him not firing properly. Yes,
his synapses are not working.
Nope. I'm sorry. How did you find me?
Krager says Lan was always called the stone-faced warder until he was softened by love. I think you're right, but I think he was a stone-faced warder, especially when you were looking at him from the POV of other people, like Rand. If he was looking at Lan, of course Lan is going to come across as a stone-faced warder. But I think Lan really gets a little more vulnerable and a little more readable when he's with people like Moraine and Nynaeve eventually. And I think that's playing well so far. That's something I'm kind of seeing and I'm enjoying personally.
I think it's incredible. Yeah.
Yeah. So before we move,
he's my favorite character by far.
Really, in the books or the show?
In the show so far.
Oh.
The book's Nynaeve, and I think in the show Lan.
Interesting.
I'm gonna say for me it was Lan in the books primarily because from a military background, I was reading it while I was deployed.
Oh yes.
Lan's sense of morality and his honor and all of that stuff really resonated with me.
Yes.
He's my favorite, by far.
Wow.
Yeah, his ability to restrain himself when he's watching the White Cloak's hands on Moraine was one of the strongest, most fierce moments for Lan, I feel like. And it's easy to respond to be all violent, but to hold back and use your mind,
and
smart.
the size of his herons when he tells him they know how to keep their hands to themselves or lose them.
Yes.
He's standing there with 50 White Cloaks, and he's talking about taking this dude's hands off. Being disrespectful. I mean, how tough are you?
I think he would have.
He would have.
Did you notice that the White Cloaks searched everyone except for Lan? And I think that's part of, like, they were like, I don't think he'd have anything on him. They just move on. They
didn't come anywhere near him.
I'm not gonna mess with you.
Some good instincts there.
Yeah, definitely.
On White Cloaks. Oh, I don't know.
And somebody in the chat says it's weird that Lan hasn't mentioned Rand's Heron Mark blade, but how much play has the Heron Mark blade gotten yet? I mean, not.
I don't think I've seen it.
He noticed it. The scene where Tam is being healed.
Uh-huh.
See Lan look at his sword.
Do you?
Oh, you do?
Down at
interesting.
yeah, you see him
I'm
look
gonna go
down in the
rewatch
direction
that.
of the sword.
Okay.
He gives it like a
Ooh.
quick. Oh, so he
Okay.
spotted it.
Because I know in episode 1, like, they really, whenever he pulls the sword out at first, they, like, focus on the fact that there's a heron on it. So it's like, they're
The box
had a
showing
heron
us,
on it.
they're showing us that this is a heron marked blade. But yeah, they haven't,
Yes.
like, talked about it much yet.
The box that he pulled it out of had a heron sealed on it.
Yeah, I did
Top
see
of it.
that.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, they made a huge deal of it. But yeah, Lan absolutely noticed it. 100%.
Mm-hmm.
So before...
Cool. That is awesome.
That is cool. I didn't notice that. Before we move on though from Lan and Moraine, I think we need to take a moment just to like pay homage to the Weep for Manetheren speech and song. I mean, this was like a 5-minute scene that any other TV show probably wouldn't have included. But
That's 5 minutes.
I mean, well, that's what they
It was
say.
a pretty
in, like,
good- yeah.
That's what they say in like the behind the scenes clips. They're like, yeah, it's a 5-minute like single shot, essentially, not really, but horseback scene where one character's talking, and
I loved it.
I loved it. It doesn't happen in the same way it did in the books, which I'm totally fine with, because this was like getting to hear them like sing a traveling song and Matt starting it sort of just. I don't know if it was to
Yes.
cheer them all up because it was a pretty gloomy song, but along this like
I think it was.
I mean,
I think it was to cheer
I
them
think
up too.
he's
Yeah.
a caregiver. He is totally 100% an empathetic caregiver.
yeah.
Yeah, right before he starts singing, he looks back at Moraine and sees
Yeah.
how weak she is and says, how can I rally us together?
Right.
And starts singing.
Right. I think we're avoiding posting video clips on here because we have heard tell that people are getting their streams and VODs pulled for using too much audio. So we're not gonna, but I highly recommend going and checking out this scene from episode 2.
Yes.
This is episode 2. So
Real
highly
quick for those of you who have not read the books, okay, you're watching the show but you haven't read the books. Moraine's Manetheren speech in the show is outstanding. The books, so much more. I think they cut a little bit in this. They're very similar almost, but I think the way she did it in the books was a lot better.
And you know what makes me wonder? Rosamund Pike narrated The Eye of the World for a new audiobook. I
Yes.
really want to hear her delivery of the Weep for Manetheren speech in the books, because it's an extended version essentially. So that's an interesting Ciro Jarajo. Sorry, Ciro. That's a good observation that Matt and like battle songs and travel songs are very associated with each other. So the fact that he would be the one to sing this
Interesting.
is a good point. You're not wrong about that. A flamingo sword, one reaction. Sorry, that's amazing.
Come on.
All right, so let's see. Let's talk about Pat and Fane. Let's just like hop right into this guy here. Let me find him.
Love this guy. I love this guy.
He-
I am so excited for him. It's not even funny.
He was so good.
I wasn't expecting a whole lot from him and Valda. It has completely changed my mind. But this guy, I'm so hyped for him.
I totally agree.
Yeah.
I totally agree.
That look that I was telling you guys about.
Yeah, so explain the scenario here. What's going on?
Okay, so Pat and Fane comes into Emmons Field. We hear the whistling, right? We talked about that earlier. He's very jovial with the kids. He's very, happy and whatever with everybody. Matt comes up, tries to pawn the bracelet that he apparently got from, I forgot what her name is. They mention it, I can't remember. And they have that exchange where, how much it's worth, and then Matt gets in his face. He goes, you're an asshole, is what he calls him. And Pat and Fane's like, I've got a good deal on you, blah, blah, blah. And as soon as Matt turns around and starts walking around, gives him this nasty look. He goes right back to, he goes from a smile to a really nasty look back to because other people are coming to talk to him. Right? So that was hint number one. And then we all know what happened during the Trolloc fight at,
Yes.
So
Yeah.
where he kind of slipped off.
He just casually steps away like nothing's going on. Yeah.
So it was a very quick, and I mean quick. How much time I spent trying to get that damn screenshot?
Well, thank you for
Great
your
job.
service.
Thank you.
Well
Finger,
done.
my finger
Yes.
was like.
Excellent effort.
Very, very well done. Yeah, Pat Fade, he's pretty, and I'm seeing in the chat people are like they're kind of teasing him too hard as being extra sus, but that may be true.
Yeah.
That it's a pretty obvious tease, but at the same time, it's kind of like. When did we find out he was weird? Like he shows up in Camelin
Yeah.
and he's crazy. I mean, why not just?
Good.
Kind
He
of put
actually
it out
showed
there?
up in.
Let's start now.
I thought the first time they ran into him was in Bearlawn.
That may be true. I know that.
And then he shows up as a peddler in Camelin later.
Right. So he's yeah, basically just
For sus.
he's been sus. He is sus. He's weird. We'll see where this is going. You know, we'll
He's our favorite.
Yes.
He is our favorite Among Us character. Pat Fane.
yeah. I think he fits the sus category very well. And that's about all I have to say about him, other than the fact that we sort of already talked about this, is that whistling. There's all these whistling associations between, like,
with him.
You know, it goes from a fade with this weird whistling noise to him. Then we hear whistling in Shatter Logoth, which we think probably has
Doing
something
a lot
to do
of
with it.
audio. They're doing a lot of audio cues
Yeah.
with different characters, which is amazing.
Yeah, totally agreed. Padan is innocent. He may be. Janon. He could be. He could be completely innocent. Okay. So White Cloaks. Holy! If I had to pick this is rough. But so far, if I had to pick somebody that I hate the most, it's not the Fade. It's not the Trollocs. It is the White Cloaks. These guys are the worst.
I'm with
so
you.
awesome though.
I'm with you on
They're
that.
horrible. I agree. They're horrible. My God, they're being played so well.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm saying. They're the best villains. Eamon Valda. That's what they call him, right, in the show. He's Eamon Valda. Just looking at him makes me want to bite something, honestly. Like, oh, sorry. I'm just I'm getting emotional just staring at his smug face.
The pencil thin mustache just adds to the villain, like he's tying somebody to a railroad track.
Yeah. And I agree,
Yeah.
Jason Padgett, they are all just as bad as a Shadow Spawn because they do these evil things under the cover of the light, you know? It's not under cover of darkness. It's like justification. Their justification is that they're doing it for the light, and it's so far from that. It makes me so mad. But they're so good.
I want to ask something, and I don't know if it's spoilerish or not, but he's in a different position in the White Cloaks in the show.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I'm not really worried about that. Like, because he's like a
I'm not worried about it either. I'm just trying to figure out who they cut out.
Well, there
Right.
are bigger named questioners that I can't really jatch him. Carrot in,
Exactly.
maybe.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if because, like I said, in the books, there was not a questioner.
Yeah.
Oh, so I'm trying to, and we know that they've merged some characters. They said they had merged some characters, so that's what I'm alluding to. That maybe he's taking somebody else's place.
He definitely could be, and maybe they just they focus grouped his name and they were like, "This is the better name. We like this name better," so they went with it. Asanawa, Goodwin Dresden, yeah. Like there's several.
You can't say that.
questioners.
I just like how Moran's like, I also am not going to forget your face.
Literally.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't wait to see her remember his face.
Me
Scene
either.
between her and Valda when he's questioning her.
Ooh,
Amazing.
So good.
So good.
They both just they sent it, as the kids say. They really the actors there just nailed it. And literally like also I think it's interesting, we don't have a picture of this guy, but the normal White Cloak, the
Bornhold or whatever. I think it's Bornhold.
Okay, sure.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I don't know if he was the Lord Captain Commander or just a regular.
It called him Lord. The kid called him Lord Captain.
Okay, well, sure.
He brought the food. I thought.
I think you're right.
So if he's Lord Captain Commander, whatever. It was interesting to me that he was so much more reasonable than the other White Cloaks. Yeah. He's like, you know, we try and stay away from the Aes Sedai, but you're gonna have to find one to heal that wound. It wasn't like you're gonna die because you shouldn't get healed because Aes Sedai are evil. It was very practical, very level-headed, and then you get this guy, frickin' Valda, like this evil dude, and it was just an interesting difference.
Amazing.
It kind of it's it's a hint to us that not all it's hashtag not all white cloaks. Not all white cloaks are crazy, but some of them are, you know. So it's something
Most definitely.
something to remember for the future.
Mhm.
And the questioners are particularly bad.
They're nasty. That
The
one
worst.
image that you had up there, that scene, and I just want to ask you two a question because I want to get your take on it.
Sure.
So, got the Aes Sedai on the stake, right? They're burning her at the stake. She had no hands.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
They chopped.
They're
off her
behind
hands.
her.
Yeah.
Exactly, on a table. Couldn't she channel?
I think that kind of leads into my question also from that, which is how do they manage to kill Aes Sedai / capture them? Because unless they have some kind of Terra Grial that's protecting them from weaves, or I guess like I've kind of rationalized this to myself, an Aes Sedai can't take out like an army of white cloaks, basically. So if if enough of them sacrifice themselves, well, first of all, like I have to break this down in many parts. She can't use deadly force against them unless she feels that her life or her warder's life is at risk, right? Like immediate risk of harm or death or whatever. So basically, if they do like a suppression tactic where they're surrounding her, trying to just like trap her without doing anything to like actually kill her, she would have to basically rely on weaves of air, right? Like non-lethal force, and there's only so many weaves of air that one Aes Sedai could throw out at a time. And if there's a lot of white cloaks, maybe that's the explanation for how she got captured. The hands thing is a little weird. I feel like they're suggesting that Aes Sedai have to use their hands to channel, or that
Mentioned
could be...
it's mentioned in the books that some of them get used to using hand gestures.
Right.
That's right.
But
I forgot that. That's awesome.
It never said that they can't wield or channel without the hand gestures.
Yeah.
They just get used to it.
There are definitely channelers
Right.
in the books that do not use gestures, like the wise ones. I think the wise ones make fun of the Aes. Sorry,
They do. They actually do.
This isn't a spoil. Well, whatever. There are people called wise ones. We're not going to tell you what they are, and they can. Some of them can channel, and they don't have to use their hands when they channel. Unlike Aes Sedai, who some of them learn how to do certain weaves while moving their hands, and then it's kind of like a block, like they have to do those hand movements, but it is not necessary. Hopefully.
Exactly.
Maybe it is in the show. I guess that's one thing.
The only stipulation for channeling, I think, is that they have to be able to see it. Be able to see what they're channeling, where they're channeling. They don't have to. Yeah, I think that was the only stipulation. So that's why I was confused. I was like, unless rumors are, that there's rumors. I don't know if I want to talk about where the Ogier live. That was one. Another one was a certain drink, but how would you get that drink into someone? And apparently that was unknown, so I don't know about that either. No reason in my mind that she shouldn't be able to channel. She's in so much pain that she can't concentrate.
Yeah.
I mean, they cut her hands off.
Yeah.
So that's the only plausible.
Good point.
Yeah.
Conclusion that I can come to.
So that
Anyways,
was
sorry.
I don't know. It's okay. It does add a little bit of mystery to book readers. Like, how is this possible? Because in the books, more so in the show, the White Cloaks are kind of this like joke of like when it comes to Aes Sedai, they're kind of a joke because like anytime they engage with an Aes Sedai, the Aes Sedai is like, haha, weaves of air or something else. Bye. You know what I mean? And in this, like, this dude's killed 7 of them. How? So anyways, that's our White Cloak discussion. They're making them big and scary, which I think is good because they are
Yes.
I've seen it in the chat, they're representative of hate groups, like modern day
I love
hate
what
groups.
they've done with them.
Yes.
And so they should seem
Completely
big
love
and
what they've done
scary
with them, yeah.
because they suck.
Yes.
And we hate them.
Yes.
Suck.
Bring it. And let's take them down.
Yes. Let's go. Okay. Beautiful. Tom. We're moving on to Tom. We're going from somebody I hate to somebody who was maybe my biggest, most exciting thing that we got to see is Hot Tom. He's different, but man,
That
is he a
reveal
babe.
was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yes.
I liked his song. And I
Yes.
liked the song, and it was interesting that it's about the dragon, right? Which is kind of cool.
Yeah.
But
did you hear about the discussion that was going on Twitter?
I don't know what was the discussion going on.
Which one?
The discussion about who the hell wrote that song.
No.
Oh, yes.
Because nobody was there to know any of that shit.
Mhm.
That's interesting. Something.
It's interesting. I was cracking up. I was like, they have a valid point. I don't know where it came from.
Sunlever. I loved the inside of his cape. Yes, so people were mad.
Yeah.
Like they're
Oh.
normally, like some people normally are on the internet. People were mad that we didn't see in the preview of Tom before the show his patches, the cloak with the patches, his Gleeman's cloak. It's described in the book as being just like a series of insane, like multicolored patches, and it's on the
Series of
outside,
patches, yeah.
and it like flutters in the wind. You know what I mean? Think like the Mistborn cloak. The if you've read
Yes.
Mistborn.
Good imagery. Yeah.
But it's colorful. Well, in this we didn't get that, but I think that kind of lends itself to the roguish hot Tom vibe. The inside of his cloak has the patches, so we still get the patches. It's a little nod to the book readers without being.
A screenshot of that in there somewhere.
You do. Okay, let me find it. Oh yeah, you're right. Silly me. There it is. We've got the patches. So I'm excited about this. I think it's very cool that we.
So good.
Even though the
When I-
show, it would have
yeah.
been it would have been cartoonish, I think.
Yeah, I think they made a really good choice.
It's good. It's
doing
just
it
like
the way
like
they
a,
did.
yeah, it's like the Amerlin stole from the teaser. How they did the stole into the actual dress. It was very subtle. This is very subtle.
Mhm.
I mean,
Yeah.
it's
Mhm.
you open the coat, it's a little gaudy, but when it's closed, it's super subtle.
I
mean,
agree.
it's really, really, really well done.
See, I'm seeing people in the chat that don't love this Tom, and
Why are
why?
we looking at that?
I like
Yeah.
I feel
Be
like
a reversible cloak.
he's
Uh-huh.
Kurt Cobain Tom. He's
Yeah.
sorry, he just
Nirvana
there's
Tom.
there's Nirvana Tom. I don't know.
Yes,
I'm a big
I
fan.
love that so much.
And we talked about this earlier, but he like immediately becomes this like fatherly figure to Matt, who doesn't really have a dad he can look up to. The whole dynamic, the amount of his charisma was overwhelming. Honestly, that like
Palpable.
episode 3 was my favorite. You may have picked up on that by how much I want to talk about it. Episode 3 was my favorite, and Tom in episode 3 was a big part of that because he was the moral compass for Matt. He was simultaneously kind of roguish and intriguing in the whole like stolen purse situation. He was an incredible
exactly.
musician, and I've seen people complain about this too, but I love the fact that it's a guitar and not like a harp or a flute. I feel like that
yeah.
makes it feel less medieval because it's not medieval, you know?
I was hoping. I'll be honest with you. I was hoping for a Knight's Tale. You ever seen that movie? A Knight's
Have
Tale
I
with,
ever seen A Knight's Tale? Yeah. What are we talking
That's
about?
one of my favorite movies ever.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was hoping for that kind of music, not taking modern stuff, but just like a rock type medieval vibe, and he brought it.
He did.
I think he's got the whole rock star thing. Oh my god, it's amazing. I love it.
Pretty sure Tom was acting, roughing his voice for the rough crowd of that hole in the wall. That's an interesting thought. Like maybe he can sing like he can do different chants, in the books where he's got
That-
like low chant, middle chant, normal
Yeah.
chant, whatever it is, and high chant.
There you
Maybe
go.
He's got different
Yeah,
singing
yeah.
tactics for his audience. And also I also saw somebody's like we didn't talk about this, but him at the end. Him with the dagger in the throat, and I don't think we have a
Yeah.
screenshot of this because it was brutal.
Oh, I do not. I didn't. We didn't
That's
talk
fine.
about.
That's totally fine because that would be. I don't like that image. Let's go back to this image, which I
Mm.
do really like.
Oh.
I think it was perfect for Tom. Like you found, like he was the musician, he was the mentor, and then he was the like dagger wielding, like formidable rogue guy. So
It's everything that he is in the books. Everything that he is in the books.
he's everything.
Absolutely.
And he doesn't have a silly handlebar mustache. I saw you people in the chat.
I'm upset about that.
I
But
saw
whatever.
you handlebar You're upset about. See, I think I don't know.
A little bit. I mean, I didn't want like a mustachio, but a little bit extra on the sides goes a long way.
I
I'm
feel
just saying.
like the patchy cloak, that would have been a little cartoonish.
Oh, the patchy cloak.
It would have been a little cartoonish.
No, I love the way they've done it.
Yeah.
I love the way they've done it. The mustachio, I think they could have pulled it off a little
Maybe.
bit, just a little bit more.
It would have been like
He's just got
a There Will Be Blood mustache. Like instead of it like just like a
Ugh.
solid mustache.
Yes, please.
I mean that would
I'll
have been
take that mustache.
I would take that mustache too, I guess. That would be
I'll
fine.
take that mustache.
But I feel like it's so funny how like a ton of people in the show have mustaches like the White Cloaks and Tom doesn't. He's got a
Yeah.
beard. But hey, I've said this before. I'll say it
Many
again.
mustaches.
Tom is hot. We stand hot Tom. At least I do.
I love when Tom's walking up and he just sounds so weighty. Like there's such a moment of like, here he comes.
Yeah.
He's got this deep voice that when he just commands presence, you know, it's even when he sits down to play, the first thing he does is he stomps that little barrel with his foot. It's just like boom. I mean, it's heavy. He drops a beat like you're at a rave. He just dropped the beat right there. Boom. Amazing. So yeah, completely agree. His voice is amazing.
And as far as like pickpocketing, how he pickpocketed Matt,
the pickpocket.
You know, thinking about the song he sang, the people he saw walk in, we know things about Tom. He definitely like zoomed in on them, you know, caused a situation so that he could become endeared to them, and then continued that on later. We saw around the Aiel with Matt, like he comes back in, like he was very purposeful in his interactions with them. Like he was going to become connected with them. I think he was highly aware of who they are.
I think you're right.
He spotted them the moment
Dana
he
was
sat down.
So why couldn't he be?
He spotted the moment he took the stage. He looked directly at them and then looked down and sat down and started playing.
For all we know, he could have been on his way to the Two Rivers for them
Not
too.
only that, but he calls Matt out. He goes, "How does a lad from the Two Rivers meet a Trolloc?"
Yeah, it's a
He
little
goes,
dark friendy, you know, like
He's a super dark friendy.
He knew.
He knew. He said, by your voice, by your attitude, you're stubborn, which is everybody knows is a Two Rivers trait. Your clothes.
Yeah.
He called him out, and yeah, he spotted that right away. Knew exactly where they were from.
Good call out, by the way, Keeper. It is common to plain to high chant. That is a good call. You are correct. That is true. So yeah, Tom, basically very exciting. I love that they're going with him for episode 4. Basically just another reason for me to be super excited for the next episode because the Rand, Matt, Tom storyline in episode 3 was my favorite by far, personally. So yeah, that's Tom. Anybody else have further thoughts?
Ciro's pointing out that he didn't actually pickpocket Matt.
He pickpocketed the pickpocket.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
He pickpocketed Matt.
That's a good point.
And then he pickpocketed the pickpocket.
So we got Matt's money back in order to endear himself to Matt. Even better.
The money back to make money. He literally just showed it to his face and no, I'm keeping this.
Right.
Life
so
lesson. Thanks
so
for the tip.
So one of our only completely made up characters in these episodes was one of my favorite characters, and that is Dana. Anybody else love Dana? Let me pull up a picture because man,
our own Frida Kahlo, Dana.
She look at that girl.
She's amazing.
Everyone in this episode in the Rand, Matt, Tom, Dana storyline, because that's what it should be considered because of how much she did in this storyline. They were all so charismatic and fun to watch. I loved it. I thought it was she was amazing. I don't right? Am I wrong?
Did you have any idea she was going to be a dark friend when we were first meeting her and they were interacting, or were you pretty surprised?
I was surprised. I
was shocked.
I was very surprised. I was like, "Oh, this is sweet." You know, whatever. Like maybe this.
I love her.
I love literally. I should have known because, like, in the books, you know, in the Rand Matt story, they just to put it completely vaguely, they encounter dark friends, and so it's like I should have thought, "Oh, they're probably going to do that in the show too," and they're probably not going to do it.
I was not ready.
I was not ready.
No.
It was moving so fast that I didn't think because I mean, like I said, the first episode was pretty fast, and they've gotten. In 3 episodes, we're roughly halfway through the first book, right? So they went so fast that I didn't even think, friend.
Yeah.
Didn't even dawn on me.
Yep.
He's so disarming and kind and just like
she was evil.
Let's hang.
I'm going to tell you right now, she was not only evil to them, she was evil to us. Because there was one thing that she said. No, there was one thing that she said really, really me off. And she said, the only way to get out of here is by riverboat. And I was like, you suck. You suck. Why would you bring the riverboat into this? I was really upset. with her at that point. I'm just saying.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're not getting a certain character who drives a certain riverboat in the show.
Because that and the fact that actually in the books they left Shadar Logoth
via riverboat.
riverboat. They
Yeah.
didn't
Yes.
walk.
Yeah.
So I was like, you suck. Take it back.
Yeah.
Take it back right now.
Rude.
Yeah, I have a feeling Dana is a what was like they're conflating multiple dark friends that Rand and Madagascar are on their path. I think she might be. We'll see if they encounter more, but I think she's definitely supposed to
I think she's
be most of them all at once.
Actually, well, she wasn't a dark friend though. Damn it. One character that I know the parents have been cast, so I doubt, but she wasn't a dark friend.
Yeah.
Never mind.
Whoa, what's happening?
Did you
Pop up on my computer for some reason. I don't know how to clear it. I'm gonna go to a
Nice.
picture.
Take your time.
There we
No
go.
rush.
we had a whole conversation on Twitter today, bringing Dana back. So if you got caught up in that when I brought that up, I apologize. I didn't mean to start.
I love it.
An avalanche, but people were like, "Yes, Dana needs to be brought back as every single dark friend. Just put her in different costumes, like Dana in a mustache, Dana in a cap."
I'm for it. I'm for it. Do it. Do it.
Dana,
Let's
not in a
go.
braid. Can I just say the moment she's like, was the braid too much or whatever? Or did it?
Chills.
I was like, ooh, here we go. Like, oh man,
That's the exact moment.
man.
you could
That was
see
the
her
moment that I was
face.
like, oh shit.
Her face changes. It was just this, the whole shit. Yeah, everyone in the chat saying her acting was sublime. You're right. It was. I'm obsessed.
Somebody online earlier that said that they thought she sucked.
What?
She was horrible.
You know, you can't. There's no accounting for taste.
I'm not calling anybody out. It was Twitter a time person. I'm not calling them out, but they said that they thought she sucked, and that the show right now is tantamount to Winter Dragon.
Okay, interesting. Scott Stroud. She gave us our first mention of The Chosen.
Did.
That's okay.
It's true.
She
Yeah.
did mention
Very good.
Ishmael or whatever she called him.
Hishamael, probably.
Shamael,
That's
that's
how it
it,
was
yeah.
in the audiobooks.
That's-
The Kenny of Wheel of Time. Bring her.
Kenny.
She
Come on
she
now.
is all dark
Oh my
friends. The Kenny of Wheel of Time. Amazing.
Amazing.
Let's see. So Keeper asks, super big question. Will Rand have the reaction to touching the source from breaking the door down? I guess I feel like if he's going to, without getting into spoilers more.
That's a spoiler touchy subject. But yes.
If it's gonna happen, I'd say it's gonna happen in episode 4. So another
Yes.
watch and find out scenario.
And with Tom.
And with Tom, no less, which is important for some
Yes,
reasons that
Tom.
hopefully we'll find out in episode 4.
Please.
we know from the teaser the next thing. Remember, she said she called a fade. We saw Tom fighting a fade in a trailer.
True.
Seemed to be in the same set that they were just in. So that's a possibility of what might happen next. The question is, does they continue together? My question, or do they separate? It'd be cool to see Matt, Tom, and Rand travel.
Oh no,
together.
they're totally sticking together. They're headed east.
Yeah.
Love for that. But
Yeah.
They're headed east for sure.
So we love Dana. Incredible.
Dana was amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
I think we haven't really talked about Baalzamon much. We talked about the dreams, the bat dreams a little bit. We talked about Perrin and his dream imagery. But like, let's just take a moment to appreciate this.
The thing is, if people haven't read the books, they don't even know who that is.
True. Okay, so
Why he would be showing up.
we're gonna we're gonna call this guy with the glowing eyes Baalzamon, and that's for no reason
Batman.
in particular. You can just assume that I made that name up just now. And
Very nice.
and look, so you see in the cover of one of the books, I think it's The Eye of the World, or no, it's another book. I'm not sure. There you see
He's
that.
on the outside of several of the beginning books.
Thank you. Yeah, the like dude
the
with
spine.
with the coals in his eyes, and and like the flames in his mouth. Like this is an image, and I was kind of worried, like, how is this gonna look in the show? You know what I mean? I'm not really sure, and I think it's cool. I think he's kind of really intimidating, very just demon-like. I don't know. What do you think, Winespring? What are you getting from this image?
Yeah, I like it. Super creepy. Yeah, everything about the angle and the shots that they give this character like brings chills. Especially the one you have up right now, just where his head's slightly down, kind of looking up with the fire eyes. It's extremely intimidating.
Yeah, there was
I want to see what happens here.
one where he had his mouth open, I think.
Yeah.
A split second, but I couldn't catch it. I couldn't catch it.
Did it have the
This is
flames in the mouth? I can't remember.
I think so.
Did
I
it?
mean, it just happens like the scream, and it's like him real quick. So my wife jumped when that happened. She was like, "What the?" Yeah, it was pretty funny.
awesome.
But
Very
yeah,
nice. That's great. Yeah.
like the style. It's almost like the Man in the Iron Mask type. You know, it's an odd outfit. Is way different than I thought it would be.
Very sleek. Almost, it's like a suit, kind of.
Yeah,
Kind of like the front man from Squid Games a little bit. Go
I haven't
on there
seen
with the
that,
mask
actually.
and the suit.
Squid Games. Oh my god. The fox guy.
Well, not a fox.
Or are you talking about the? I know
The
you're talking
front
about-
man.
Yeah, the front man. I love
do.
that.
I have a mask somewhere.
I'm liking the imagery for him so far, but again, we haven't seen much from him, and I'm seeing in the chat people are like, I want to see other people's streams, like Wayne's streams, Matt's streams, and you're right, I would love to see that. We did get we got the suggestion that they had bat dreams, like Rand did. Rand's was a little visceral, obviously, but they had something going on.
They
here we
replaced
go.
the animal.
Right,
Oh, nice.
this
I love
one.
that.
Nice.
Yeah.
Replace the animal in the
Yeah.
dreams from the books. But yeah, it's same concept.
Yeah, so almost as if he was dressed from a different age, Jose
Yes,
Molivera.
I thought about that as well.
Exactly. All right, so the
That's a good detail.
the last big character we got, and I apologize if you guys are mad that we didn't pick Tam out as a character to really talk about, because we didn't get much character development from Tam, even though we love Tam. Was Leandron. Okay, like she started the series and ended. Or she started in the episode 1 and she ended us in episode 3. So let me just pull her up, because first of all, scenery. Holy, the scenery in the show, incredible.
Done.
As evidenced
Oh
in
my gosh.
this particular shot. But
Yes.
Leandron too. And I got to go to the premiere. You may know this. You may not know this. It was incredible. Kate Fleetwood, who plays her, I didn't get to talk to her, but I did get to like turn around. And the first thing I thought of when I saw her, and I said it out loud, which I regret, but I'm going to say it out loud again.
I heard you.
She's actually a relatively short person, height-wise.
Yes.
And the fact that she can be short, but command an entire, whatever that is, canyon, is so impressive. She owns the rooms that she's in, even at the height that she has. It's she's another one that I love to hate, much like the White Cloaks. What do you guys think about Leandron?
100%. I mean, no, her bone structure alone
Right?
demands respect.
It does.
And her eyes. Did you? In the next shot that we have of her,
Okay,
her
yeah.
eyes are ridiculous.
Let me pull this up. She's
Everything about her screams power.
spectacular. This casting is perfection. Is this the picture? If you look after it loads, or after you can see it because of the delay. Like, yeah,
Oh my gosh.
She's
majestic.
she's majestic. Her and all her all red. Like, I love her. Basically, I just there's nothing more to say. I mean,
Winespring wanted to bring her up in particular. So what were your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I appreciated the bookends that Leandron brings, which I think Kritter already mentioned a little bit. Like, we start with her and we end with her. Seems very important. I remember taking note of how Nynaeve actually looked quite intimidated when Leandron shows
When
up
she
there.
rode up, yeah.
And that was notable from someone like Nynaeve, who doesn't show that so easily, I guess. So,
Yeah.
I love that. I can't wait to see more of Leandron and what they're gonna do with her, because this is an adaptation. So I love Kate Fleetwood, and I can't wait to see what they're gonna do with her.
I have a feeling that, like with the Tom stuff, we're gonna get more from Leandron in season 4, given where season 3 ended up. So I'm excited about it. I don't know. I love her. Or sorry, season 3, episode 3, where episode 3 ended up.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
No,
No,
it's
I
good.
haven't seen the
I was
first 2
trying to find
seasons.
it. Yeah.
I haven't seen the first 2 seasons.
Okay.
Thanks. Or first 3 seasons.
Vixen Dark Fairy is channeling Leandron. She appreciates the stature and the fact that she's so intimidating. So
Okay.
Yes.
Beautiful.
I'm a shorty too, so I love a strong short woman. I'm like, let's go.
Yeah, literally the only reason I even noticed how short she was is because she was standing next to somebody who was way taller than her, and even not playing Leandron, even just on the blue carpet, I was like, wow. You know, like if she came over to me, I would be afraid, even though I'm like 5'7". You know, like I would tower
Very
over
nice.
her probably. I assume.
On this
Oh, go ahead.
that live stream, when you mentioned her and you said something about her being short, she actually went. You see her in the background going straight into the venue,
Yeah.
and you see her, and she was tiny.
Okay, so it's not just me. Like,
Yeah,
it was
no,
literally
you
the first thing I
definitely
thought
saw
of when
her.
I saw her, and I was like, I shouldn't have said that out loud. Some people are sensitive about that. Like, oh my gosh. But I was trying to narrate what I was seeing, and that's the first thing I thought of. So I agree, Alan Byrne. Introducing Leandrin early is brilliant. She is an excellent.
Brilliant.
There's so many people in the show, and that's one thing I really appreciate about the first 3 episodes. There's so many bad guys. There's so many people to watch where you're like, I hate them. I hate them. Like, I hate Leandrin. The Red Aja seems really horrible. I really hate the White Cloaks. Obviously, we hate the Fades and the Trollocs. Then there's Dana, who I love, but also hate because she's a dark friend. It's just... Oh, and then there's Fane, where it's like, what's going on with this guy? You know what I mean? So
Yes.
I'm
Some conversation today on TikTok where we're saying that this adaptation is a different turning of the wheel.
yeah.
Right?
That's what Sanderson
and so-
said a long time ago.
Yeah, which is what Sanderson said exactly. And so I've been using that in a newer way or in a different way to explain sometimes to people that don't grasp or that are bitching that, oh, it's not like the books. I say, think about it this way. It's like Marvel Comics versus the MCU. Right? Comic books had their own thing. The MCU is a completely different universe. It still follows the same rules, has the same characters and all that stuff,
Yes.
but it just tweaks it a little bit. Same thing, this adaptation, there was no way in hell they could have done a word for word. No way.
Yeah.
I'm loving everything right now.
Same. We just got a question related
Same.
to that. Caleb says, if we don't get Camelin, are we going to get Elaine in season 1? Unless you were meaning Elida. Either way, my guess is no, because we don't have casting for Elida yet. And they announced Elaine's casting, Ciara Coveney,
They did.
for season 2.
Yes.
So it looks like we're getting our Elaine plot starting in season 2. Whether they're going to be... Well, I don't want to get into it. We'll see where we meet her. Maybe we'll meet her in Tarvalin. Maybe we won't meet her in Camelin at first. Like, that's possible.
It's true.
That's a good point. Yeah.
So
Ooh.
we'll see.
Ooh.
I don't know.
It's really good because they have been cutting things, but putting people in places, ending up in places where they need to be. You know what I mean? So that would be interesting if they just cut Camelin altogether and went straight to Tarvalon. That'd be
well, like
amazing.
Tom. Like, it's another example of like Tom. Technically, in the books, we met him in the Two Rivers. We met him in Eamon's Field, which is what the Two Rivers was called in the books. But instead, we met him at Breen Springs or whatever, and we didn't lose anything for it. Like,
Nothing.
We
Lost
got
nothing.
We got an awesome meet cute with us and Tom. I'm looking at it this way because the moment I saw it, fell in love. And and there wasn't, we didn't lose focus on him because in Eamon's Field / the Two Rivers, there were tons of new people in the town. There was Moraine and Lan. There was Pat and Fane, the peddler, coming in, and there was Tom. And so it was like, I feel like
Would have been too busy.
it would have been really busy. And the main complaint that I've seen from episode 1 is the pacing and how it was like, holy, they fit so much stuff all in this one episode, and they were already leaving by the end of it. Like, imagine if we had to also introduce Tom. Like, that would have added more stuff to do in the first episode, and that would have been pretty intense.
And even in the books, what did Tom really bring to things that, from the Two Rivers? Really didn't start panning off with Tom until they got on the riverboat.
Yeah.
Or Shadar Lagoth.
Yeah.
So we missed nothing.
Tom was
really.
Basically a tag along. Like, I don't know how many lines of dialogue he even had.
Many.
Until they separated, and here we are now that they're separated, and he's got, first of all, this amazing entrance, and second of all the lines of dialogue that are appropriate because he's become this weird mentor guy for Rand and Matt. So, not weird, fabulous.
He's doing exactly he's doing exactly what he did after Shadar Lagoth in the books, and that's the mentoring. We're right, it's perfect.
He
Cra-
falls right into the role. Mhm.
Right
Kramer's
into it.
crossing his fingers. If we have to leave some characters out, that we leave out Gawain. I agree. We're not gonna say who that is, but I agree. If we leave him out, I won't be that sad.
Yeah.
As
Oh my
as an
God.
Egwene stan, I hope we
It'd
get a
be so
director's cut.
amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I
So
hope we get all content, all new content, as much content as possible. I hope they expand the seasons and we get 10 episodes, 12 episodes. Like, I want it all.
Please.
I want it all.
Yes.
Who did they just cast? There was a tall, thin male that they just cast. Actually, they cast a female as well, but I can't remember.
He's
It wa-
lord. He's the lord who met up with Rand before he got to Carian. I think they.
Oh, okay. The one that meets him on the road
Yeah, I think so.
kind of questions him a little bit.
Yeah, I don't remember his
Okay.
name.
All
Oh, yeah.
But
yeah.
But I'm
Right.
pretty sure when I saw the casting, he's pretty. He's got a pretty face, so I was like, oh, I bet
I was
that's
thinking
Galad.
Galad.
I was thinking the
Yeah,
same
Galad.
thing.
Yeah.
And then no, they were like, no, it's actually can't think of his name, but not that guy, the other guy, which is interesting because like in the books, without getting into much, like now we know that maybe that plot is happening, right?
Mhm.
That
That's true.
if he shows up, we can assume that something like what happens in the book is going to happen in the show.
I'm gonna screw this name up. Mianche.
Wow.
Sorry.
I don't know what you're saying.
There's
Take
somebody
your
in the
time.
chat named Mianche. Anyways, they're saying that Tom was the caution against Aes Sedai. True.
Yeah.
He was always kind of against Aes Sedai. There's a reason for that we're not going to get into. But he can still do that from where he started in the show. That's the thing.
Yes. Mhm.
Not, it's not like we lost anything there.
Yeah, I totally agree. And yeah, in this, people are saying it's creepy that he like linked up with the boys, but like knowing his backstory, which you may not yet, but the people who do understand why he would want to be a mentor for lost and otherwise endangered youngsters.
Yes.
And
Yes.
that's all I'm going to say about that. I have a feeling.
And he's a Gleeman. It's not hard for the guys to want him to come along, you know?
Oh, I mean,
true.
He's a cool guy.
Barthanes. Thank you, Janan. That is the
His name
the dude.
Barthanes? Is it Barthanes?
I think so. The guy
Okay.
from The Great Hunt. I think so.
Yeah.
That's Barthanes. And I wonder if Tom saw Rand break down the door. Maybe.
He was with Matt.
From an outsider's
Wait a
perspective.
minute.
Well, Matt is
Wasn't with Matt.
Matt's on the way back, right? Because Rand
Matt-
Rand
And they run
runs
into each
into
other.
Matt.
Yeah.
Right after he busts out of the door.
Right.
So yeah, Matt would have been, or Tom would have been back by then as well.
Somewhere, presumably in the area. That's true.
That's interesting.
I'm surprised nobody stopped Rand and Matt running
Yeah.
from Dana since they know Dana. Dana's chasing two men running. You think that they would
Good
help
ask.
her. I
You
thought that
see
was
it?
weird.
Hear them yelling, "Dana, what's going on?" as she's running.
Oh, you
by.
did? I could not
Yeah,
hear that.
the cool thing, and I was going to bring this up earlier when we were talking about it, I forgot. It's a shot of her hauling ass with a determined
Man.
face with that sword, and I'm thinking Terminator 2. That's Terminator 2 right there. She looks so crazy in that shot. Oh my
She's
God, it looks so
tough,
good.
man.
I just love
yeah.
her. I just pulled up
She's
another
tough.
picture of her. R.I.P. Dana. Am I right? Like,
Yeah,
I
this
need
Oh
is
my
her-
gonna-
I
gosh!
need her
Look at her
back.
jaw.
I like.
She's all like, "Are we gonna cry? Or are we gonna order another round?"
What are they? What is with like the
You'll
people?
do whatever you want. Either one.
Right? The people in the Wheel of Time and their bone structure, like Leandron. What
Yeah.
is that jawline? Just impeccable. And Dana's got the same
Man.
vibes. Like
Her
it's-
cheekbones. Yeah, she's
the jawline, the cheekbones, the bone structure. Everyone looks gorgeous. It's such a gorgeous.
Just like
mess-
radiate confidence.
I was
Yeah.
messing around earlier calling her Frida Kahlo because they toned her down. Her eyebrows are really thick, almost touching in some shots. She's still the hottest thing on the screen.
Since
Hey,
on screen.
yeah.
toasted bread.
She's amazing.
Yeah.
I want to see more.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree,
Make her
Gregor. We
every
mentioned
dark
this
flame.
earlier. Her saying, "Was it the braid?" was the perfect line. It
Oh,
just sent chills
man.
down.
What a
my spine.
transition. Yeah. Like
She
heckles
actually-
went up immediately.
She actually says Egwene's name.
Yeah, eventually, yeah, she does.
She knew.
And she's like, I mean, he just looked at her like, wait, what?
I know. Dana
And
looks-
later on, after, or it's before Tom kills her, obviously, because she's
Knives
speaking,
her, yeah.
she mentions 5, like all 5 of you. And you see Matt go, 5? Like, Like he's trying to figure out who the fifth one is.
He goes, I see all 5 of you, and he went 5. Yeah, I told you
Yeah.
that's part of his mental acuity. He picks things up.
He's sharp.
So sharp. Oh my god, he's so sharp.
He really is. He really
I actually
is.
think Rand's really sharp too. I forgot to mention it earlier. His intuition is like off the charts in some of these scenes.
He's physically fast. The scene in which the Trolloc busts through the door at his house, him and where he lives with Tam. That scene was unchoreographed. When he busts through the door, they said it in the behind the scenes. That's the first time they saw that Trolloc in costume. So
I believe
that
it.
reaction is really them.
Oh, and
I
love
believe
that
it when I look
Trolloc.
at it,
No, I
yes.
mean, it was Narg. It was a wolf. Like, I loved the way they did Narg. His whole, like,
Yeah.
muzzle was
He looked amazing.
perfection.
And the fact that the moment Tam was fast, the Trolloc comes through, Tam was fast, grabbed the spear, stuck him, and the moment he sticks him, what happens? An arrow comes flying out and smacks the Trolloc.
Yep.
That's how fast Rand reacted.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was so fast.
Yeah.
So I guess
they've done so well.
we're we set like a hard deadline at 2 hours, so we've got 7 minutes left. But we were gonna talk about one other specific thing before we just kind of like hang out with the chat and talk about whatever you guys want to talk about for the next few minutes, and that was the exchange of daggers. We mentioned it earlier. Nynaeve took the Trollocs dagger from him, or sword, whatever you want to call that, from him, and kept it and used it on Lan. And we've got more dagger exchanges. Like here, we've got Matt giving Perrin the dagger. And so, like, Winespring, I know this was something you latched onto. Like, what do you think's going on with all these daggers?
Yeah, I love this intrigue adding to the dagger exchange here. Like, it's very compassionate that Matt's giving Perrin the dagger, but then it kind of opens up this need for Matt. Now he needs a dagger. And so then he's drawn to a dagger, and now he has a new dagger.
I think that's exactly what it was.
Yeah, like it opens up that need, and it's gonna, I think, I don't want to give too much away, but I think it's gonna play into maybe who's being affected by a dagger, what's happening with the dagger. Daggers are important in this.
What's going on with the daggers?
Grab a dagger by the tail.
Alan Bird, the
Grab
fifth
that
person.
dagger.
The fifth person is Steve.
Nice.
When are we gonna see Steve?
You win.
That's another question
You
I'm
win.
wondering.
Genius. That is genius.
We're gonna send you a prize.
But Wine, you're absolutely right. So I think the whole dagger thing, if it was an actual mechanic that they used, right, to get us prepared for him grabbing the dagger. Everything was pointing toward the dagger at Shadar Logoth. She pulls a dagger from the Trolloc. Like you said, Matt gives Perrin the dagger again, bringing up Layla, making Perrin cry again. Poor guy. I'm surprised he got any water left in his ass.
Oh.
That's
Then
phrasing.
Straight, yeah.
Sorry, your phrasing there was weird. Water left in his ass. Like, let's move on. Sorry, it took me back. Go ahead.
Come to Marine Corps speak.
Yeah, you're fine.
And
That's
then
funny.
pointing straight to the dagger. I mean, gives his dagger away and magically here's another dagger.
Opens up a need, and it was filled by
And
something maybe not good.
That also plays on Matt's luck. About it. It plays on his luck.
Yeah.
Look, I found another dagger.
Yeah.
So, all right. Questions?
Vixen, you asked, are we not tipping biddies here? You are welcome to do
Biddies?
whatever you want. I don't know what you mean.
Forget to tip the bartender.
Altarans use daggers too. Okay. Nice. Yeah, I like Nynaeve's dagger. I don't think we have a
Altarans.
I don't think we have a picture of that, but her like the scene where she's holding up the dagger, like just a tiny little dagger, and she's like holding Egwene back, and the Trolloc yells, and she's like, ah! Like I know we've talked about how much we love Nynaeve, and man, that was a good scene too. I loved that one.
So that same scene, she stabbed that Trolloc.
Yeah.
Multiple times. It came in close and she was like, stabby, 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 stabby. Which shows, that's why when Lan said, you're not going to stab me, I was like, oh, here we go. Because I knew she was going to do it.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know. He stepped into that, you guys.
He did.
He
totally
stepped into that. He
shit.
goaded her.
Oh, I got no
We don't
issues
know.
with it.
She might not have. She just responded.
Listen, he pushed her buttons and she freaking took a swing. I applaud her because that's a stupid tactic.
We have some beautiful full, like, what is it, like fight, flight, and freeze moments from all of our characters, including Nynaeve. But I really like Matt's when he runs out of the house to find his sisters. And you see him, like, he waits, he's looking around, and it's like, what am I going to do? Am I going to fight? Am I going to fight, flight, or freeze? And he just goes. He goes in, and he is not super talented, but he gets the job done. Like, honestly, it was really cool to see that.
That was a one-shot sequence, and that was one of the coolest choreographed things. Like, we talk about Lan and Moraine and their, like, movement together, but Rand running across the courtyard of the Two Rivers, like the town square. Sorry, Matt. Matt running across the town square, like dodging Trollocs. Just like literally, he takes one look. He's like he says to himself, like, probably blood and bloody ashes, and then he just goes for it. He sends it, and it was really, really, really neat shot.
He is brave.
He's super
incredibly brave.
Yeah, he's everything that he doesn't think he is.
Thank you, Vixen Dark Fairy. I really appreciate that.
And they actually had two shots like that. One was with Egwene. Yeah. I'm sorry, Egwene. They did a shot of her kind of stumbling around until Nynaeve grabs her. And then, but the Matt shot that you were just talking about was just, oh my God, it was incredible.
It was Chef's kiss, an amazing shot.
And it's the same thing with Nynaeve. You know, that awful moment, we see her getting, like, dragged by her hair, which is probably one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever seen in a show ever, maybe. But you see her waiting. She doesn't scream and panic and grab on her hair. She waits. Like, the instinct there is just incredible. Absolutely incredible in that character.
Thank you again for the bits, Vixen Dark Fairy. You're a stud. I appreciate it. Yeah, it's basically, I guess with a few minutes we have left, I just want to summarize my thoughts. The first 3 episodes. Yeah. I tweeted this, that, like, I feel like the first episode was, of the 3, my least favorite, because I'm not a battles gal, and it was cool, visually stunning, but I like the character development, and even though there was some character progression in the battle, like Matt going for his sisters, which, oh my God, I loved it. I felt like there was more, and it was better done in episode 2. And then my favorite episode was episode 3, because not only did you get the character development, but you got a lot more humor, I think. And one of my favorite parts of the first book was the Rand and Matt escapades, and the fact that we got Rand and Matt escapades made my heart sing. So I loved all 3 episodes, but my favorite one, I think, was the 3rd, and then the 2nd. And then the first one, even though it was incredible and the production value was off the charts, and the village was beautiful and everything looked great, I just think the other ones were better personally. What did you guys think?
Me? Okay.
Yeah. Yes.
So I liked all of them equally. Okay. I love the battle scenes and the character development. I think the only thing maybe I'm not wild about is the word bread. I'm probably never going to get over the word bread being used. So other than that, great. Can't wait to see the rest of it.
Okay. Fair.
It should have been what? What should it have been?
Should have been honey cake.
Oh, I was like, why? I don't understand why we don't like
when she brought him breakfast, and she goes, and he says,
when Egwene to Tam.
Yeah.
Oh, and he said, he says, like, I would never say no to Maren Alvear's bread. Oh my gosh, I didn't even notice that.
He didn't say honey cake.
It's honey cake. And specifically winespringcafe.com's honey cakes. Just gonna throw that out there.
Also, like, in the
throw that out there.
In the description of the VOD on YouTube, at least, we're gonna put these guys' links, because they all have their own socials. They do things other than just on my channel, believe it or not, including the Winespring Cafe website that has amazing recipes on it. And I believe Tavern made one of those recipes just this week.
Yesterday, I made Moraine's meatless lasagna, and I was telling I tell Winespring all the time, I'm a meat guy. I will have meat and a side of meat, any chance I get, right? And I made this meatless lasagna yesterday, and it was incredible. Incredible. Everybody in the house went back for seconds, like, no joke.
That's awesome.
It was incredible. Anyways,
I love it. I love hearing it.
So go
make my food. It's good.
Yeah, it's amazing.
It's good stuff.
I guess my thing for the 3 episodes were episode 1 was fast. there wasn't as much character development in episode 1, but it solidly clarified everybody's core values.
It's true.
Episode 1.
Yeah.
Saw who they truly were in the moment of panic. And then, episodes 2 and 3, 2 got a little bit slower, and 3 definitely slowed down quite a bit. The one part that I think I can't even say I would have done without it. I could have done without it because I really couldn't. I loved it as well. Was you had Matt and Perrin walking and joking and talking, and you had Egwene and Perrin through that tundra landscape that I thought dragged on just a little much without talking. But then I thought about it, and I was like, the wind was howling, wouldn't have been talking. Mm-hmm. And then they get to that scene where they're trying to light the fire. Perrin's shame, I think, he couldn't get the fire started, was being pushed on by what happened with Layla. And, he's trying to protect Egwene, and he's like, I can't, I'm trying, I'm doing it. That broke my heart. And at that point I was like, no, this was totally necessary. Necessary. But yeah, that's where I think the core was definitely done in the first episode. Okay.
So did you like them all the same? I'm not hearing a ranking.
I think I like them all the same, honestly. There were parts of each episode that I think were on par with other parts of other episodes. So
fair enough. I mean, I would admit that, like, obviously the Rand, Matt, and Tom storyline in episode 3 sent it over the top for me. The other ones were like good, but not that good. But yeah, I when I think back, I think of that episode as the thing that makes me.
It was a great episode.
They all make me smile, but that one makes me smile the most.
Yeah.
Basically, can I point out, Tavern, that I love that we reframed you before we started the stream, and you can kind of see your tattoo. Isn't that awesome? The Wheel of Time tattoo. I'm obsessed.
Put it up there. Yeah.
That's
cool, man.
It's very cool. We love it. Okay, so that's a 2-hour stream right there. I think we probably need to sign off unless somebody has final words that we haven't said yet, other than just
one request.
What's that?
I would like to raise a toast.
Okay.
If you have water or whatever, I'd like to toast to Tom Thane.
To Tom Thane.
First casualty of the Battle of Beltane.
First casualty of the Battle of Beltane. To Tom Thane.
Cheers.
There we go. Poor guy. Yep.
He's not even a real character. It sucks.
Poor guy. Yeah, let's just end it here by saying, man, I am excited about the fact that this is happening in general. And for episode 4, because of where we left off. We're gonna get more Leandron. We're gonna get more Uneven Land. We're gonna get more
Tom.
Rand, Matt, and Tom. And I mean, Perrin and Egwene with the Tinkers, right? So that's kind of cool.
Oh my gosh, and Aram, we saw him.
Yeah, we saw Aram.
So many people.
I think we're getting Logain in the next episode.
That's right. I think you're right.
Oh, right. Yeah, that was clearly teased as well. So something's going down with Logain. Do more live streams. I will do my best. We're gonna.
That's all. Yeah, she does great.
Every week. Oh yeah. I guess I'll just say this is the Wheel and Chill show. Thank you for joining us. I'm one of your hosts, Kritter XD. We've got Winespring Cafe. We've got Tavern Tavern. We will be here every single week while the show is airing on Mondays at 7:30 Central until probably around this time. Well, probably not actually, because this was 3 episodes, so it'll be more like an hour of an hour and a half stream every week. So at the very least, you can count on us then.
Yes.
And we really appreciate all of you being here and being in the chat today, and hope that we'll see you next week